Thank you. Hello and welcome to the December 20th Northfield Selectboard meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:01. And we're going to start with Chief Mark Fortier, EMS Business.
All right.
Come on down or up or...
I'll take my position over here. I can put a chair in the middle. Nope, all good. All good. All right. Stay.
He likes to survey the scene.
We'll
So-
start with the appointment. Is that what you want to start with? Okay.
Yes.
So I'd like to bring forward a candidate for appointment to Northfield EMS, Jake Whitney. Jake
Hi,
is
Jake.
a basic EMT. Just got his card 6 months ago, maybe at this point. He's a resident of Greenfield. He comes from a background of fire and EMS people. His dad's a captain down in the Greenfield Fire Department, so I know him pretty well. And Jake here is a firefighter in Gill, and he wants to join Northfield EMS. He wants to spend some time around our station and run some calls with us. So we asked to appoint him as a member of our organization.
Excellent. I see he was recommended by Billy Kimball, who knows Northfield well. Yeah. Any questions from the board for Jake?
Just a comment. I'm super impressed with your resume and the format of it.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
And I have no questions.
Alex or Heath?
All right, Jake, let's start with your education. What does education mean to you?
Yeah, it's learning and getting the best of what you can from a place. I went to Franklin Tech, and I'm now at Greenfield Community College, getting my fire science degree.
And what will that mean to you?
Getting the degree, it'll just help me with my future in the fire service, and I'm really looking to go full-time at some point. And I'm excited to continue there for another semester and 1 year.
So a semester in 1 year. So you're already into the program a little bit now?
Yep, I'm in my first semester right now. I'm taking 4 classes. 2 are in person and 2 are remote. And I have my classes scheduled for the spring already.
Great. So you're looking forward to a career in firefighting and
Yep.
EMS. Good. And so we've got the basic certification.
Correct.
Alex, did you have more questions?
I
Did I
did.
cut you off? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead. I'm always interested in the certification.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Okay. Go ahead.
Let's talk about your long-term goals.
Long term, I'd like to be a full-time firefighter like my dad. I have uncles on the Cape as well who was a retired fire chief and captains as well at this time. And I would like to see myself on a full-time department and potentially staying with Northfield on the side as part-time as well.
Do you anticipate maintaining a residency in the Franklin County region?
Yes.
Why?
It's where my grandparents are from. My mom grew up here, and I've been here my whole life, and I have no complaints so far.
Tell me about how you cope with stress and failure.
Stress and failure. I have a really good support system with my family. My mom is one of 5, and they're all in a happy relationship, and I have very good connections with them all. My dad, being on Greenfield, I'm close with a lot of the members there, and they're good, because a lot of my stress is in the fire or EMS side, so it's good to bounce ideas off of them and be able to talk with them.
Talking. That's what I wanted to hear. So when you're in the moment, when tunnel vision kicks in, what are some in-the-moment techniques that you use to be able to cope with the adrenaline and things that can kick into play when things happen?
Yeah, I'm still learning how to look outside of the field of view that I have. It's when the pager goes off, it's a lot of excitement for me and trying to unfocus on that it's not my emergency is big, but I've enjoyed learning that through Gill and continue that with Northfield as well.
He's young and eager. When he gets older, that all goes.
I don't think so. I think that's a great answer. What are you looking for initially for him to do in terms of, is he going to be driving or obviously now that he has his basic certification.
Yeah, so, he'll go through our onboarding program that we have,
Okay.
that we have to meet the requirements for medical control out of the hospital. So he'll go through our orientation program, he'll have to do a number of calls and show his skills and so on and so forth with us. We'll give him, time behind the wheel, make sure that he's comfortable driving the trucks and stuff, and then once we get him checked off, he'll be a member of our organization to run calls like anybody else, so.
Great. Alex, did you have more questions?
I had one more question.
Okay.
What is the definition of integrity to you?
Doing the right thing when no one's watching.
Very good.
That's
all.
Good one.
I'm all set. Thank you.
We're going to have to copy some of those down and
Yeah.
use them in other situations, I think. You're quite poised, and I appreciate that. Any other questions? No? Can we-
Mark, do you, just for the record, you have complete faith that Jake Whitney can meet the standards of a basic EMT for the town of Northfield?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you, Cameron?
Yes.
course.
Okay.
Excellent.
I just hope it's never for you guys. Let's keep it.
Thank you.
Keep it that way.
Me too.
But I see that you're trained in dog and cat CPR.
I
so
was
we need
interested
it-
in
we need
that,
it for our animals.
Yeah.
That could come in handy at my
So
house.
just an
Does animal
FYI,
rescue.
there is this NERO's law that's been passed at the state
Yeah.
level, which is getting some pushback, but, ambulance services are required to carry equipment for emergency resuscitation of police dogs. And then we actually have to transport them to a emergency vet in the case of a situation with police dogs. It's a very difficult training to get under our belts because it involves, we have to get a veterinarian and everybody else involved to do the training. But it is a law that was passed by the state, and we are required to have to meet that mandate. So it's another piece of an unfunded mandate that we are fighting at this point. So.
Wow.
Is anybody certified that's on our department?
Certified? No.
Right. Yeah. Boy, that must be a
Is that the
crazy training.
So the one
is
that
that
I
the start to the certification? What you took, Jake?
I'm not sure if
sorta?
it is. I just took the very basic
Yeah.
one that the Red Cross offered specifically for my dog. But
Oh,
I didn't even have that in mind when I took the class.
there
But
you go.
that's a step in the right direction, I
Added
suppose.
bonus to our organization.
Yet another career facet. Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Whitney.
Second.
We need a motion
Oh,
first.
So moved.
Alex is gonna make the motion.
No, I wasn't going to. I was
Oh.
just looking at this. No term expiration, nothing like that.
So
The same as everyone.
Okay, because we usually include that in the motion.
Right.
So I'll go forward with that
Thank
then.
you.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jake Whitney to the Northfield EMS as an EMT, term expiring 12/31/2023.
Yes.
Nice.
Second.
Okay. Motion in a second. Mary, you can get the next one. All those in favor? Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Jake.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank all three
coming.
of you for your service.
So we'll be in touch to set up orientation.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks.
I think we have a couple other things.
Seat's
on
all
the
yours.
agenda.
Yes, we do. Agreement with.
These
Are we-
meetings get boring, so.
I'll listen to you.
No, don't do that.
They're exciting in an intellectual kind of way. Do you want to go with the agreement with Town of Gill, or were we having somebody
Yeah.
else attend to do
He
the
was invited, but he wasn't quite sure.
Okay.
Um,
little shy?
yeah.
Why don't we do the guild thing and then we'll move in
Yeah.
case he shows up.
Okay.
Okay,
Start with that first.
all right.
So, I think you probably have in your packet or where, I'm not sure what you have there, is an agreement for signature, well, to start the signature processes between the town of Northfield and the town of Gill for us to provide ambulance service to their community
Yes.
as a primary ambulance provider. A little bit of history, background. AMR ambulance is their ambulance service of record. They've been having some difficulties. Okay, they have some significant difficulties in providing that service to these communities. over the last few years, I mean, some of the statistics that we provided to you guys, I think you probably have seen that Gill, we've been going to Gill 30, 40, 50% of the time anyways for their call volume. There was a letter that came out from the Franklin County EMS Association back last year or so, which basically said, put everybody on notice that if you don't have a contract with an ambulance service, you can start to expect to start receiving bills for services that we provide. And with Northfield going to Gill as much as we were, as of July 1st of this year, I started sending them bills every time that we went over there. That's finally started the conversation, getting them looking at what they were going to do for an ambulance service permanently. They went and did some their own due diligence, and then about a month ago now, I'd say, they reached out to me and asked if we could have a meeting. Cameron and I met with some of their decision makers, and at the end of that meeting, they requested a proposal from us. I created that proposal like I did for Irving, like I did for Bernardston, provided it to their select board. Their select board at their last meeting, or two, whatever it was, looked at the proposal, and then they agreed that they wanted to enter into a contract with us going forward starting July of next year. So fiscal year, starting the fiscal year. So that is the document that should now be in front of you for execution. What typically happened in the past is that, you guys would sign it, we'd send it to them, and then if they sign it, or they will send it back for adjustments or whatever, but it's not necessarily the final draft, but it is, if Gil agrees to it, it would be the final draft of that agreement.
So we got Irving, Bernardston, Gill, and Northfield now under
Correct.
okay. And we're able to still successfully handle the volume?
So
We are just shy of 800 calls this year. This is our first year that,
Take a look at
I mean, we have about 2 weeks left of the year, but I'm anticipating that on January 1st I'll be able to say publicly that we have not utilized mutual aid into any of our contracted towns. Meaning that a Northfield EMS unit has been the ambulance on scene of every one of our 800 calls, which is a record for us too. We're generally about 400, 450.
So as part of that agreement that you have in front of you there would be a stipulation where they would contribute $15,000 annually to our organization. That's similar to the Irving contract. That number is the number just to be equal to the rest of the partners at this point. We are still waiting on the Collins Center for their analysis of how we could move forward into a more formal regionalized service. I am assuming that once that Collins Center study is done and we move into a more formal organization, that those assessments will rise to whatever they come out of that study. So 15,000 is not the number forever, but that is the number to be equal right now to get the process moving.
Well, and it's consistent with the other agreements.
Correct.
Yeah.
Would you like to see that number higher at some point?
I would love to see that number go to what is necessary for us to staff with permanent people on a long-term basis. The reason I say that is so right now we've been highly successful on the backs of volunteers. Myself, Cam, Becca, a few other people that are not being paid adequately for the amount of time and effort that we're putting in here. Right now, if for some reason one of us was to leave, there is no mechanism to backfill. That is, I see that as a huge risk to not only the organization for Northfield, but for the communities as well, is that there needs to be a mechanism of staffing long-term of this organization. We've been highly successful now, but I see it as a potential risk going forward, that we need to think about that.
Okay.
And that's why
That's where the Collins Center.
correct. That's why we're looking at the whole district approach, which then does formal assessments based on revenue and expenses.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will preface that comment now with when I'm in the process of submitting my next year's budget.
Yep.
As part of that budget, there will be a significant increase in the stipends for not only myself, but also for the deputy chief. I say significant, I don't consider it to be that significant. It's starting the process. of increasing those stipends so that in the event that Mark Fortier leaves the organization, there is a certain amount of money to help entice somebody to come in here and start doing that job. Because if you leave it blank as it is now, good luck finding somebody to volunteer the number of hours necessary to be successful here. I don't think it's possible at this point. So
I think if we post the job description with a salary of $4,500 for what is required, it would be no applicants.
I mean, we're having trouble getting paramedics to come in here on a per diem basis at $25 an hour. We've gotten 0 applications. So, you know, money talks, unfortunately.
Any questions from the board?
So every time we have this discussion with you, whether it's numbers or pushing out service, AMR is always mentioned, and it's never in a positive light, to my knowledge. What's wrong with them, if there is anything wrong with them?
I can't really speak
I had a
for
feeling
that. If you would like
yeah.
my personal opinion, I'll gladly give that to you, which is AMR is a for-profit entity that they have to show a profit to their stockholders, and if it doesn't make sense to put another crew on, you know, a truck, staff, to meet the demands, meaning that you don't have the call volume to pay for it, then they're not going to do that. Now, what does that mean is that if they don't put the truck on to cover the demands, so maybe they only get 80% of their calls are covered by that truck, you know, if you don't put it on, there's still 80% of calls that don't get covered. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So therefore, if it doesn't make sense financially for them to do it, they're not going to take a loss. So therefore, they don't put the truck on, calls go unanswered, they go to mutual aid. My job as a community ambulance, as a municipal service, is to cover my costs to break even. If I break even, I've done my job. I don't have to make that profit. They have to make a profit. So
Must be very challenging for them.
correct. And so their primary focus is transfers out of the hospital, up and down the highway, and they have made it very publicly clear is that they have a contract with the city of Greenfield and the city of Greenfield only. Part of the process with Gil is that they went and they spoke with AMR to get their feedback on it. I've heard rumors that they came back with a number that was significantly higher than what we were talking for them to do the contract, as well as they made it very clear is that they would have to sign an addendum contract to the Greenfield contract. They would not have their own separate contract because Greenfield is the holder of the contract with AMR. AMR is Greenfield's ambulance service. Think of it that way, and that's it. They do not want anything else.
Publicly, anybody can listen to the scanner apps and stuff, and you can hear all day long. AMR's unavailable. We're going to check on another paramedic service.
I mean, we had an issue recently where Northfield ambulance intercepted Charlemont ambulance because there was no paramedics available between them and the hospital. They called us out of our station, and you intercepted them, up on Route 2 at the...
Just about the barracks.
At the barracks. So there's a huge demand for the services that we can provide, and we have shown that we can provide, and that's why you now have these communities that are actually coming to us and saying, we want your help.
Well, the reason why you're successful is because also you're offering ALS, you're offering advanced care,
Correct.
not just basic care.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you feel like you might at some point be spreading yourself too thin? Like will you get burnt out, stressed out, or lack of equipment, or I don't know.
Excuse me. So the good news is that the 4 communities that we're discussing right now, I think we have a very good handle on. I would not be thinking about moving beyond this until the Collins study is done and we can do some real evaluation of how we're going to staff this going forward. If another community was to want to jump on with us, okay, we would have to have some real serious conversations about not only the cost of providing those services, but also the location of where we would deploy these resources. Does it make sense if, let's say Turner's Falls wanted us to help with their ALS side of it? Does it make sense for us to keep all of our resources in Northfield, or do we take a truck and we move it to Irving and locate it in the Irving Fire Station in order to help not only cover Irving, that area, but also into the backside of Turner's Falls to help with their services? What's the cost associated with it? What's the call volume increase? How do we staff it? All those questions would have to be answered before we make the next move. Right now, I think the fact that we are already sort of doing the Gill contract anyways via mutual aid, now we've just solidified it, and now we are the first call, not the second call, to go into that community.
I think that's important to note, because I know that was a point of confusion in the last couple of years during the budget cycle with FinCom. There was always a concern about, spreading resources or personnel too thin. The fact of the matter, to Mary's question, is you guys already go to Gill.
Right.
This actually solidifies the dollar, and if they're first, if they already have that agreement and they're listed as being first as opposed to somebody else, then they can bill first too, correct?
Correct.
So it actually solidifies the revenue for the activities that they're already doing in Gill.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you both
Yeah.
for the clarification.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Mark's been educating me for 3 years now, so I think I've got the business model down. And now this is a critical year, as you're pointing out, for potential regionalization and the district approach that we have with other services. So I always use the animal control one because it's an easy one. We just keep adding towns as long as we can add personnel to service the towns in that district, and then we get assessed. Each town gets assessed a dollar amount that represents the cost associated with the personnel. That's what Mark is talking about.
Right.
So Mark has put together, I have to say, the business plan has evolved the way you describe it over the years. This to me was really, really well done, the business proposal for Gill. It basically outlines every possible condition and really explains the business model that you're talking about with each of the communities. So I think we owe you a huge thanks for the foundation that you've built and the level of detail that you've built into your agreements.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Okay, so any other questions on the Gill arrangement? And if not, then why don't we move forward on that so we can, because we've got one other thing with you guys too. Okay.
The only one.
Oh, anything else, Mark?
Only one other point just
Yeah,
make
yeah.
is that the 4 towns that we're talking about that we now service, Northfield, Bernardston, Gill, and Irving,
Part of Irving, right?
have all agreed to be participating in this Collins Center study.
Correct.
So it's not like we're talking about adding another person into the study anyways. This is sort of a stopgap measure until that Collins Center thing is resolved.
Yeah, you're noting
and
this
we're
for
bringing
the-
them
yeah.
on board anyways.
Yeah. And then I think in Andrea's update, we're going to talk a little bit about the USDA meeting. That so we'll be sure and
Sure.
bring out that as well. I thought that was helpful. Okay, motion to.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
So it says July 1st, 2022. We're past that, so we don't date the motion with an efficacy starting on
Oh,
that
it's
date.
2023.
July 1st, 2023.
No, start and end.
Agreement shall be June 1st, 30th each year. Shall be the period of 2020, so it's July 1st, 2023.
That's when it will start. 2020.
Right. The agreement here I have says 2022. I think it's just a typo.
Are you
Okay,
doing it
let's-
for this year or for the next fiscal year?
It would start July of 23.
So make
Okay.
sure, if you do it, just change it manually
Yep.
on yours.
Okay.
We want to make sure we get
So
that.
this is for FY24.
This is for yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's just a draft.
Good
She can
catch.
change it
Now,
on there.
that doesn't change the fact that between now and then, they're still calling us mutual aid. We're still going to Gill.
Well, that's why when I was kind of
It's-
looking at it, I'm like, does
that'll
this
be
mean
June 30th,
retroactively we
24.
could bill?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
Just
we
a thought.
We still are. We still are.
Okay.
That was the deal, though, that I made with the stakeholders at Gill, was that
Okay.
I would no longer continue to send them bills for our services until we got
Gotcha.
this resolved.
All right,
so.
effective negotiations. Okay, thank you, Alex.
I'll make a motion to enter into agreement for emergency medical services by and between the town of Northfield with the town of Gill on the 20th day of December 2022 with an effectiveness date for July 1st, 2023.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you both. Very
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow, this is well in advance too.
Yeah, that was one of the things. They're in their budgeting season as well, so
Yeah.
they want to make sure
I'm
that
just
they were-
making a
done.
note that you're like,
Just trying to get
On it.
well,
to see
you're
it
on
how
it
it's not.
well
Mhm.
ahead of
I have the
schedule.
number.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
What's next? We're going to move recognition for service
Yes. So
up in
Oh,
the
he just sent
agenda.
it to him.
yeah.
Okay.
I was just, the only reason I was texting is because I was texting the chief to see if Oleg was
Yeah.
going to be coming, and I think he just forwarded my thing to Oleg, so I don't know if he's coming or not, but
I
Oleg at least has
informed
gotten
him
it.
that it was going to be tonight. I think he's probably a little shy. So we had. I'm presenting this letter, which I already noticed the typo, which will be fixed, and the one that I'm going to give to Officer Oleg. I'm going to refer to him as that because I can't say his last name, even though he's,
Kolbachensky.
there you go. He's tried to say it to me a bunch of times. So as the letter that's been presented to the board, I'll read for the public. On November 21st, 2022, just before 11 p.m., Officer Oleg responded to a medical call with Northfield Ambulance. We had 2 paramedics in our station. Officer Oleg was a vital member to the life-saving care that was provided that day. Officer Oleg helped the crew with providing advanced care to an extremely ill patient while also running up and down to the ambulance, which was parked outside a flight of stairs away, to retrieve additional equipment from the ambulance that is not used on every call. Officer Oleg was also vital in relaying information to our dispatch center, as well as keeping the family calm so that 3 medics on scene could focus on patient care and stabilizing the patient, who was later aircraft transported to Bay State Medical Center. Since the date of this call, we have received news that the patient has made a full recovery and is home and doing well. This was a highly acute call that without every cog in the wheel turning the way that it did could have had a very different outcome. For this, I, Assistant Chief Kennedy, with full support of our organization, would like to recognize and award Oleg for his acts above the daily duties of a police officer. We also have a little pin that will be presented to him with his updated letter, a little star of life
Can we pass that around? I'd like
Sure.
to see it.
to commemorate his patient care.
They call it the Star of Life.
Yes.
Is there
Oh, yeah.
is this a
Beautiful.
practice among EMS?
Different agencies have different things. A lot of them
Oh.
will have either Meritus Service Awards
Okay.
or a Life Save Award. I had the luxury, no one else was at the station when the patient pulled up in their father's car, and the dad got out, and I asked whether or not she was still in the hospital, and out she walked and gave me a big hug. So sadly, no one else could share that hug, but hopefully this will count.
I love
You
it.
can pass it along.
He did respond, thank you. He's at a family event,
Yeah.
so he was
I
Oh.
will
to attend.
get it to him after.
Well, well done on the commemoration, and the letter is really well done. And I'm personally proud of him as well. Thank you for presenting that to us.
Definitely.
That's really nice.
So-
Gave me goosebumps.
So we have a fantastic relationship with the police department. These guys have really we've melted very well in the last couple of years. I can't thank those guys enough. They're Johnny on the spot on our calls. They're willing to help out. I can't thank them enough. So.
They stopped by the station to find out where some obscure piece of equipment that we asked them for on a call, where our people might have had to think about where it was, and they're like, so they asked me for that. Can you show me where it is on both trucks?
It's nice to see these relationships forming into a higher professional bond.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a unit. Fire, police, EMS. We are a solid town. I'm very proud of all
We're
of you.
making lots of progress.
You know, exactly. It does give me goosebumps.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's just wonderful.
So we'll have to, we're going to focus again on Oleg in January because we're going to have a police chief update in January, and Oleg has some other, completed a really important certification. So we're going to have him in public at some point
I'm
to,
gonna embarrass him.
Yeah.
and it'll be an array of different awards and certifications
He
and
won't have a
things.
choice.
So yeah, he won't have a choice. We'll have to put the spotlight on him for 5 minutes. So we appreciate what you guys have brought forth tonight on all fronts, including the recognition of service for Oleg. And I would like to thank Oleg. I think the select board, obviously, not just me, but everyone would like to thank Oleg as well for his service. I think that's
Constant.
it.
He's a constant.
Yeah,
Great.
he is a constant, as are you two. So
Yeah.
thank you very much,
Thank you.
Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope this was instructive and fun and educational at the same time.
Is there, sorry, do you have any other EMS business?
Yeah, so tell me, what's the gaming console vest all
It's a
about?
heated vest.
Heated vest,
I have to
okay.
go to work at the hospital, so this will
Oh,
keep you
gotcha.
warm all night
I
long.
like
Okay.
that.
want
Where's the
one of
energy
those.
source?
Little battery pack over here.
Oh,
Just don't dip them in water, it's all good.
Yeah. I'm gonna go drive my electric car there too. Which I'm using the lovely charger outside.
I saw that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good.
That's good to see. That's
Okay.
good to see.
Can we jump to the FDA conversation, the meeting of the FDA? Or can we do that while I'm here?
Yeah, let's do that, and then let's give it it's about 5 minutes maybe, and then we'll go to, we have an appointment with the Board of Health, so,
Okay.
but let's,
Yeah, I'll be in the audience.
no, let's do the
You wanna do that?
USDA right now,
Okay.
because I think it'll tie in everything that you just talked
Okay.
about, so that's good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had it up under, I had it under my updates.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
Cameron.
No problem.
That we attended a joint meeting with Bernardston and Leiden with the USDA representative to talk about, well, in our particular case, we ended up talking about some funding for various initiatives, but Mallory is working on now getting some funding through their grant program to help offset some of the cost of our new ambulance. So she's working on this. I think we have a meeting with them on Thursday to get that application in, to give us some
Oh,
money
great.
towards, to give us some money. We'll pay it all, but anything we can get, we don't pay. So we keep in our coffers. So they have some grant funding right now that they can use, and it's first come, first served. So we're gonna do that. But
It was an interesting conversation when the USDA came out with their list and said, okay, each community based off of their per capita, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Northfield could get 15% grants. Bernardston could get 55% grants, and then Leiden was zero
they get zero based
or
on.
Leiden,
Which-
yeah.
because of their revenue or their.
Well, it's
their-
based on.
Oh, it's the zip code thing, wasn't
Yeah.
that? Okay,
It's
yeah.
based on income levels, but because they don't have a post office, and it's very complicated. But they don't.
It was an interesting conversation with one of their select board members who was at the meeting who says, well, why doesn't Bernardston buy the ambulance and we can get 55% reimbursement where you guys only get 15, then we'll give it to you. If we can make it happen, we'll do that. It's all good. So.
Yeah, I sat in on the discussion, and it was really interesting. And we had the Western Mass delegation too. So Representative Natalie Blais and Senator Joe Comerford.
And Representative Whips was there.
Susie,
Oh yes,
yeah.
right. She was there too. She was. We were all on Zoom except for you guys who were over at the senior center. And I have to say they were like right on top of USDA, what they're trying to do at the state level, what the challenges are for the small towns, and how regionalization can work, but is also a challenge, per the discussion with Leiden. And I think, was it Charlemont was there too?
Yes.
Or somebody, another small town that's...
Kathy was there from.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Am I clear, though, on the end result is basically they don't do anything with regards to personnel in terms of the grants. It's all equipment.
Equipment and buildings.
Yeah, so we're going to hopefully get, that's what Mallory's working on, is whether or
Yes,
not we could help fund the ambulance
Yes.
with a grant.
So they have emergency medical grant right now that's going on, basically post-COVID sort of. They have a pool of money that they're trying to spend, and ambulance is
Right.
one of those things. They mentioned that Turner's Falls got both of their ambulances funded through that program. There's, in addition to the equipment grants that are going on, they also do buildings, and that was one of the things that we want to talk about with the Public Safety Building Committee, membership there, was that FDA does have some programs for financing. However, it sounded like this way I took away from it was that they didn't have the money right now to do it even if we wanted to do it for the building. Correct me if I'm wrong, but but the grant programs that they have also sort of make it, the requirements of the FDA to get their grant sort of adds additional money to the building process, could possibly make it not of any value.
Yeah, the USDA has a rural grant program for small communities, and it's misleading because everyone thinks, oh, well, you know, it's farming, USDA, but they actually have a facilities program. They don't do a lot of grant
Right.
for that, for buildings. It's mostly loans.
Right.
And the advantage that they do have is they can go up to 40 years. So they can take large things and make them much smaller annual increments. That's their big advantage. Their interest rates are
Usually low. Very low.
sometimes competitive, sometimes not. Sometimes they're right around what you would get. But they have very strict, being a federal government agency, there's some very strict requirements that come into building a building. And it's not that you wouldn't do most of this per se, but for example, one of the things we're doing to save money on our building is doing a step down in the back.
Mhm.
That would not be considered handicapped accessible. You would not be able to do that under the USDA program, bar none. So that would increase the cost of the fill, that would increase the cost of the building, that would raise, so
Right.
there's trade-offs.
trade-off,
There's
yeah.
trade-offs to using their funding. If it doesn't matter, if there's no trade-off, then some people will go with the USDA. And they do have programs that are very positive and very workable. But sometimes the trade-offs don't make them the best choice for financing. And we had that discussion back, because if you're going to do USDA, you have to bring them in from the very beginning.
Right.
They're from the ground up.
Right.
So we did have that
Literally.
discussion way back when we started with our designers and our OPM.
The only reason I bring
Okay.
it forward is I want to make sure that we publicly say is that we reached out to take a look at this program, and it may or it probably will not suit what we need for our building here in town. As far as the financing perspective, but there might be some other opportunity for some equipment. That's what we're working
Yep.
on now.
Yeah.
Through a grant.
And I'm just noting the regional, I think it opened up some creative outlets with the other towns.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So more to come. I think this is, again, I'm going to repeat this and then close the discussion, is I think this is a critical year for EMS.
Absolutely.
That as the year progresses, we're going to have to get up to speed on regionalization in a variety of different forms. So we look forward to having you come back.
Hopefully I'm not
You'll be-
going anywhere. So,
Frequent flyer at the select board meeting. Okay, thank you,
All
Mark.
all right.
Yeah, that's
Okay, thanks,
awesome.
Mark.
Thank you, Andrea, too.
Yeah.
That was an interesting meeting. Okay, Board of Health, Pam.
Yes.
Come on up. Nice to see you.
And Kathy.
Oh, hi, Kathy. Okay, so we have a couple of things. One, congratulations on having an assistant who finally hired. It's been a
She doesn't know
long,
what she's getting into.
I think she does.
Actually, she probably does because
I
she's
do.
been on the board.
Yeah.
She's already been on the board of health.
You
back
both
in
have been on the
90s.
board in the past,
Yeah.
so, okay.
So, yeah, she does know which.
All right, so Kathy, are you presenting Pam to us and,
To let you know that the board went through all of the
yeah,
applicants.
yeah, just give us the overview for,
I beat them all out.
She came out on top.
excellent.
And that we all agreed that we want her.
Of all the applicants, she's number one.
Yep, she's number one.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so questions from the board for Pamela?
Thanks, Pam.
Hey,
We're happy to
You know
have you
what?
on.
And also, it's good to see you.
it's nice to see
Yeah.
you,
You don't
Mary.
get to see a lot
I
of people in the
know.
winter, do we?
No, in the summer it's easier, but not
But
in the winter.
really, thank you.
Pam, tell me about some of your administrative skills that you look to put to the test for the Board of Health.
I ran my own real estate office on Main Street for about 15 years. Before that, for about 12 or 13 years, I worked as a realtor. It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
It's a lot more paperwork than people work, time-wise. So, and then when I closed my office, one of the other agents that I worked a lot with, he's still working, so he asked me to come in and just be his assistant. So, what I did was 30 hours a week of just dealing with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all the attorneys and the contracts, and you know, I have enough knowledge to be dangerous.
And helpful.
I also I'm very good with confidentiality. That was always a big part of my job. And through the real estate, when I was doing that, I got to, if you're having trouble reading my handwriting, Alex, I don't wonder. My printer was broke, so I apologize.
It's okay.
I can read it.
But, okay, well, you could probably work at CVS filling prescriptions too, so. But, what was I gonna say? Anyways.
Well, I think the key thing is, and you're currently an election officer. I know
Yes.
when I've done that, you're like
And
Dan's number 2 person for the rest of us. And you were on the Board of Health, so you already have the familiarity with the Board of Health.
I'm ServSafe certified because I run, my
Oh, right.
kitchen is residential kitchen.
Oh,
So I'm
right.
permitted to, so I'm familiar with this current, the agent that does the inspections around right now, as well as Charlie, the guy that did it before.
And she,
Um,
when she
I-
was on the board, she went out to the percolation test.
Yep.
And she was on site. So when
Actually, they
paperwork-
asked me to be on the Board of Health because I was in there getting paperwork signed or bringing paperwork or arranging for perk tests or Title V's or something like that. And I was there. Someone had been elected. I don't remember who it was, but I was there more than that person was. So they asked me, because it wasn't working out for that person. Things had changed for them, so they couldn't come. So they asked me if I... So, and Kathy was good about teaching me things as I went along. David was always good about teaching me things as I went along. Mike Gibson was on it. So, you know, as far as things to do with the transfer station and that, I have more than just a regular glancing.
We don't
go
deal
at
with
it.
that
It's not
anymore.
that we don't?
It's
Oh, good. That was trashy.
You've probably forgotten more than we know.
Not
So
really.
yeah,
Things change, but the thing is, I still get the updates from the state on the changes and the Title V's and the perk tests and different things like that. I also keep up on the changes with the housing codes. I've owned multifamily houses in the past, and I keep up with that just because, probably because I read those things because I should be doing something else, like cleaning my refrigerator or something. It just interests me.
great. Any other questions?
One more question. So I see that you heard about this position through word of mouth. What had sparked your interest to want to get involved in employment for the town of Northfield? Why Northfield?
I'm already employed by the town of Northfield as the election officer.
What has
And
sparked
I
your
just-
interest for this position?
I thought it falls on at a time when I have free time to do it.
Excellent.
Great.
And it's something I'm familiar with.
And the position is the administrative assistant?
That's it.
And you're the administrator?
No, it's a board.
It's a secretary, it's a
Oh,
board.
that's
Board of Health
right,
is
okay.
a board. And
Yep.
as far as I understand it, I'm clerical only.
Right.
Yeah, and shut my mouth
Well,
unless,
she
you know.
actually knows
So-
it. I mean, secretary to the board
Yes.
of health is an administrative assistant now.
Yeah.
It isn't what it used to be of just maybe taking notes at the meetings and answering some telephone calls. She said she's pretty well aware of the backside of the real estate issues that come into the Board of Health. So yeah, it is kind of administrative. And I think
It's definitely
Dave-
administrative.
Dave's been doing a real good job
Yes.
doing it,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it will be helpful to have somebody else doing it.
Well, more coverage would really be appreciated
And,
in town
yeah.
hall for folks
Yeah.
when they have questions. These are, as you know, with your kitchen, and if you can't get a hold of somebody,
Right.
or the appointment gets missed or something, then your
I'm
business
pretty good
is.
at prioritizing
Yeah.
things, you know. I mean, things that I might think personally, I'm talking, me as a person might think is, oh my God, the end of the world. might fall 3 steps behind what something else that we get a call or an email about that frankly is quite important. I'm pretty up on housing codes and water and all that other, like I said, just enough to be dangerous.
Good, and helpful. Okay, I would entertain a motion then to appoint Pamela Veith as we're calling this administrative assistant. I'm just checking the,
What does
The
the letter
I'm okay
say?
with secretary.
well, I'm
Well,
just,
it's whatever the
I
job,
know what the
what is
job
the job
says.
description
I know.
called?
Position title is administrative
Of
assistant.
to the
Yeah.
Board of Health.
and that's
Okay.
consistent with other positions.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. Okay, so we need a motion for administrative assistant.
I'll make a motion to
Thank
appoint
you.
Pam Veith as the administrative assistant to the Board of Health at a grade level 5, grade step 5, level 1.
No, grade 5, step 1.
Grade 5, step 1. With a start date immediately.
Excellent.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we have health district.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, health district MOU. Can you and
You
Andrea?
going into this next or not?
Yeah, they're doing it right now.
Yep. Yep, we're gonna.
Irving.
Yeah, well, they have the original, we'll have her sign it later. We're just gonna vote it.
Yeah.
So you've got the board signature already? We've switched over to the IMA for Irving, Shutesbury.
Right, the impetus of that, and you can explain it from the Board of Health side, is that we belong to a health district. The Board of Health oversees the sort of functioning of the health agent who works for 3 towns. But the history of it is that it was done out in the 70s or something. This district was created 80s. And essentially, I guess Charlie was in it forever. But over time, what they've come to realize is that it probably with the change in laws, change in structure, change in job responsibilities, change in everything to do with health and boards of health, it really isn't, it can't continue as it is. It's just not, it's not a properly constituted legal entity the way it should be, so they knew they had to do something. Looked at making it a district again the way it should have been, but it became very complicated, and for 3 towns, there was whole issues about liability and insurance. Irving stepped up to say,
Oh, good.
we'll take the person, they'll be our employee, and then there's an intermunicipal agreement that the towns will all sign.
Oh,
So it makes the town, the person work for all 3 towns, but Irving becomes the
Host.
financial agent, the employer agent. This person now, the towns will contribute. There will be an assessment, which there already is, to the district. But Irving will then manage them as an employee. Irving will manage them as an office. It just became clear that one town needed to step up and do this because creating a whole district just didn't make sense for this
For
position.
3,
And it needed
yeah.
to be more formalized. They needed to have health insurance. They work more than 20 hours a week. They needed to have a paid vacation. They needed to be paid.
okay.
Whole
So
big institutionalization.
That's
of that.
all cleared up then, and we're
Correct.
okay because
So in
that was a
order to do
problem
that,
before. Okay.
We're forming the new agreement with Irving to essentially hire the same person we already use through the agreement.
Bernie.
Did we look into possibly going through FERCog and using their health agents? Did we do a cost analysis for that?
Yes, I think they did.
Because I do know that there was a lot of issues with this health agent not showing up in town, hard to get them here. I personally was involved in an issue where she did an inspection and I had somebody from FERCog come in and they found 3 things she missed.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot of confidence in her.
Okay.
That's, I think we could do better by going through FERCOG.
Well, right
Personally.
now they're down to 1
Yeah.
and they're not getting any answers.
On the other
So-
hand, I've had a great experience
Yeah,
with her.
I have to.
Yeah, just to
Everybody has
let
a
the
bad
record
day.
show. Yeah.
And I think with this, we can have a little bit more, I don't want to say control.
Structure.
Input.
But input on some of these things. And I think I think it'll be a little bit easier also for her, and I know we did discuss the fact, even in this, the possibility if things are getting to be too much, that we can hire a second health agent, either part-time, full-time, you know, because there's also a couple of other towns that maybe next year or something may join them.
Right, but it's not an issue with FERCog so much as saying is you have to also they have to have the capacity.
Yeah.
So they can't just take on 3 towns, and it's really hard to walk away and leave the other 2 towns when we've been in an agreement with them. And assuming that they could even take our town on with capacity, they really have to take on all 3 towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did mention that the contract with the health agent, how there is a clause in there for termination. So we'd have to still honor the contract.
Right, and would it definitely be through, I'd have to look at it again when it is, whether it's through this fiscal year or the next. We aren't out of the contract. We're actually just creating a new entity and moving the district into this new intermunicipal agreement. But yeah, you know, it's like when we needed an accountant, and we went to the FERCog and they said, we'd love to help you out, but we don't have enough accountants. So capacity is also an issue.
And the other thing is, we're trying to, as you mentioned, for the ambulance, the EMS services, we're trying to get this moving, because this part allows us to then go to the town meeting. Because in Northfield, the town meeting was what put us into the district, and we have to go to them and
To dissolve the
ask
district.
if we can dissolve it. Now, Irving, there is enough money aside for us to pay the agent and everything else until the 1st of July 2023. And this needs to go to the town meeting, and those are all in May. So we're trying to do this instead of waiting until March or something. Get this, that the select boards, the boards of health, we agree with this thing. We know there's probably going to be changes, but we do still, at least in Northfield, I think in the other 3 towns too, they do have to present this, leaving the district and joining this public health services. It comes to the town meeting.
Okay.
Right, joining doesn't. The intermunicipal agreement is the select board can do. The select board can sign an intermunicipal agreement, but dissolving the district we'll have to have an article on town meeting to dissolve that entity, which will be empty in a shell, but will be dissolved at town meeting, because that's how it was created.
Yep.
And we did it under a certain public health law, and this is being done under a different public health law. So that has to be dissolved formally the same way it was created.
If this is under Irving, the employee, does that mean that they go through the personnel procedures, like performance reviews and the like,
Irving.
through Irving,
But,
right?
but the boards of health have quarterly meetings as a group to discuss that, and if there's issues with the performance. I mean, you'll see I included the job description. So there is a job description for this. They're not just trying to say. So even though it's Irving's employee, Irving will be responsible and accountable to the full board, because there's a board made up of the health departments.
Okay.
That will be able to say, hey, we've got a problem.
I think it sounds like a good next step, given where it was, and you get some control and some structure by using Irving, and then seeing how it evolves from there. That's what it sounds like. And also, you know, we can stay abreast of what FERCog offers and what their capacity is. But, Bernie.
Are we gonna be flatlining the money we're putting in now, or are we gonna have to be asking for more money as a result of this?
Oh, I'm sure the assessment will go up.
Okay.
But that's partly because it has to, one way or another. Because there's certain things that should have been covered that we're now recognizing weren't. And so the assessment was going to go up no matter what. I mean, I can't say what the 2 differences might be, but there was going to be a change in the assessment process in order to accommodate the changes that needed to be made, whether this district continued or whether you signed on to this intermunicipal agreement. We think this is actually probably the better way to go because it internalizes a lot of the operations we would have had to hire somebody to do for this small district. Now that goes to Irving, which is going to be much more cost effective because they already have those structures in place, like any town would.
We had, at the last district meeting, felt that next year's budget, the easiest thing to do right now would be say there's going to be a 2.5% increase across the board.
But they have to reconfigure the.
Yeah, they will.
They'll
but that was
reconfigure the
what
whole
we're
budget.
looking at.
Oh,
The district is
I'm sure
looking
there'll
at
be
it.
an
Okay.
increase no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
There was going
All
to
right.
have to be.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, everyone. So, any other questions? Otherwise, I entertain a motion.
And you don't need any you've got all the signatures
got the
from the board
paperwork.
that you need for this?
Well, they're going to authorize her to sign it, and then we'll
I
pick
meant
up.
you don't need anything more from me, you've got my signature on it.
We're going to be picking
Yep.
up the document in Irving, and we'll
We're
have
just
the
going to do a
original.
motion on it, and then that will allow me to sign it, and then
Yeah.
we'll be good.
They want an original, so I have to go get the original in
I
Irving
saw that.
today. We were told today. Oh, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. Motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement, IMA, for local public health services. Do we need an effective date, effective immediately?
I think it's in here. December 31st, sorry, the term of this agreement shall be,
didn't see it.
commencing, I think it starts the first, right? Why does it say through December 31st, 2025, commencing upon execution of the agreement? Yes. So it starts upon when everybody has signed, so yes,
Okay.
and then goes to 2025.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?
I
Yeah.
Second.
Wait a minute, I need a second. Sorry. One
second.
step ahead. Thank you, Mary.
You're
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay.
I just.
We didn't see it coming.
No.
Yep,
just-
sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bernie.
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
board needs a nay once in a while.
That's right.
Keep it spicy.
No, just not impressed with it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, duly noted. Okay, payroll warrants. Can I get a motion for December 14th, 2022 payroll warrant of $83,679.41?
So moved.
Second. Oh.
Heath got you.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
Um,
can I get a motion for December 14th, 2022, the vendor warrant of $202,181.82, which includes the Franklin County Technical School assessment and the lightning strike expenses?
So moved.
The last one. Hurrah.
Second.
Okay. Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How about minutes? Can I get a motion to approve December 6th, 2022 minutes?
So moved. I
Second.
Good for you, Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Interim select board meetings, there were none. Meetings and events attended by select board members. Bernie?
Nothing.
Nothing. Mary?
events. What did I do? I wanted to tell you about something I did.
Is it on your calendar on your computer by any chance?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
You want to take a look?
Actually on my
Heath,
phone.
do you have anything?
But please go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to keep moving.
And the last meeting of our Public Safety Building Committee, as well as our Friends of the Shell Bridge.
Oh, right. How did that go?
It was good.
The presentation with
Yep.
Senator Comerford?
It was well attended. I mean, no real dire important information came out of it that's going to give us some sort of a definitive answer on where we're going, but we have the support and
Attention.
people behind the scenes trying to push the momentum. It's just unfortunate circumstances of the place we're at with inflation of products and the bids and everything still. So
And the federal process.
Yeah.
We're waiting on that.
Yep.
Okay, Mary, did you?
I went to the Kiwanis Fair. They had it at the Northfield Elementary School.
Okay.
And there's also the NES craft fair there. I'd like to let you know that I love to go to the
Your
town
community
fairs.
events, yeah.
Love it.
Excellent.
And I wasn't sure if I put this in the last time, but we did have a meeting with the FRTA.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so they're moving their facility, and they are trying to keep up with the demand of riders versus not charging them. There was a lot of information in the meeting. It was really, you can look up it online.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the two things I did.
Heath, did you have more things and I interrupted?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's see. I had First Light FERC stakeholder. I had 2 stakeholder meetings and 1 settlement meeting. I went to the school committee meeting for the teacher's contract. I sat in on the public safety facility committee meeting and attended the regional meeting with USDA and the Western Mass delegation for grants for EMS and public safety that we discussed earlier, and the ARPA committee. So a lot of that's coming home to roost in this agenda. Alex.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
I really wanted to go to that meeting with Senator Comerford, but I was held at work that day, and I could not leave.
Darn
So
it.
That does happen sometimes.
Darn it. I got to see her in action at that USDA meeting, and just have to say Northfield gets a lot of support from her. Town administrators update. So we covered the USDA.
Right, we talked about that one. And then today I went to the Age-Friendly Initiative Needs Assessment Survey data presentation at the Council on Aging.
Oh,
People
good.
took that. There was a big survey that went out for the age-friendly and dementia community program.
That was
we're
for
involved in.
caretakers of dementia.
Well, it's not caretakers. They did a whole, and
Oh,
because the town is in the needs assessment for action planning, part 2 of this. There was a survey that went out to seniors in the whole town, and there was a whole presentation that they did on that today at the senior center, which was very interesting on the results of that. And we're part of a regional thing, so there was Northfield's responses and the regional responses, which matched often but differed in some interesting places to see what. I do have to say, 100% of Northfield seniors who responded, and there was like 100 and something, which is
We had
like
a really good
20-some%, which is a very good response rate on these
That's
kinds of
huge.
surveys.
Absolutely.
And it was a long survey, too.
100% of
That's
them
great.
said they felt safe in their homes.
Really?
Excuse me.
That was
That's
not
great.
true of any other community, but in Northfield, 100% of them said they felt safe in their homes.
Love it.
That's
So
right.
that was stuck out to me because you don't
Yeah.
usually see 100% in anything.
Oh, yeah.
So
100. Well, one Northfield had a really outstanding survey, so that's a good-sized number. That's a good-sized chunk, and to get 100% on that answer is really stellar.
Trust in our police department, in our community, watching out for each other.
Yeah, that's really encouraging.
Mhm.
Excellent. Are we due for? We haven't seen Colleen in quite a while. Should we schedule an update with her at some point to kind of get up to speed on these different programs and where she thinks this is all heading?
Let's give her a month. She's had a. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't mean immediately.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
No, I
mean,
think that wouldn't be bad, especially since this is kicked into, the next phase. They're going to go into
Yeah.
the needs. They're doing the needs assessment now,
Yeah.
and it starts to go. So yeah.
I just don't want her to feel like we're not. I know there's lots going on down there, and it'd be nice to kind of bring it up here and put it in a little spotlight on it.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you have?
That's it for now. But you have enough on-
Really? Are you sure?
You have enough on the agenda. We'll cover a lot of it. You're going to
Well,
cover a lot
actually,
of it.
some
anyway.
of what you've had on as for updates over the last couple of years, we're actually voting on tonight.
I know,
So,
finally.
okay, let's move into business then, shall we? So, we talked about the Comcast contracts at the last meeting, and so this meeting is to sign them. We listened to Attorney Solomon at the last meeting. I
Right.
have to say, he's really I don't know what the word is.
Thorough.
Thorough,
Well, this is his-
amazing when it comes
this
to
is what he does.
Comcast. Yeah, he lives and breathes it.
These contracts from all over the state. He's out on the vineyard doing them now, and he's gone all the way into the Berkshire. So this is
Wow.
his
Yeah.
thing. So you
And-
did the 10-year
Did anything
extension
change in
renewal.
the last 2 weeks?
This will help with the people who want to get
Yeah,
service,
the
right?
10, you'll see in the extension agreement, so there's 2 contracts you're signing tonight. The first is the 10-year renewal, that's the big one, that is for 10 years of service for the town under the Comcast contract. And then the second one is
You wanna take a look?
is the extension agreement, and that's sort of the side agreement that we're also signing to do an extension for, and if you flip it over, Exhibit A will tell you exactly where we're extending to.
Oh, this
There
is what
they
you're
are.
looking for, Alex.
That's what Alex
Alex.
wants to see.
That's all.
That's what you want.
This is
That's the
baby.
extension agreement.
Yeah.
Everybody has the right in the modern era to information that is easily accessible at all class levels of American society.
Here, here.
Here, here.
All right.
So that's the extension agreement. What you got in your homework was a draft of it with the changes, because didn't quite have Comcast's agreement. They agreed to the changes from our attorney, which had mostly a few things about legal language and some liability protections during the construction of this build-out that our attorney wanted in there to protect the town, to make sure that if anything happened during that construction, that it was on Comcast and not on the town.
Oh, it will be.
Excellent.
That's
So-
what I like to hear.
So once that was done, and it was in the version that you had in your homework, it just wasn't agreed upon, but we found out yesterday that they accepted all of it, so.
Okay,
this
and
is
we
the
all
final.
need to sign this, so,
Right.
okay. So
So,
can
yes.
I get
And
a,
how will,
go
Alex, if you don't mind,
Nope,
Madam
go ahead.
Chair. Alex, how do you think these people that are on these roads that currently don't have access to internet are gonna find out about this?
Okay.
Like, is there gonna be a letter out to them? Or are you going door to door?
They're well aware. I'll just have you know.
Well, I wanted to make sure if Alex was gonna be knocking on their door going,
I won't have to.
I have done my due diligence,
I won't have to.
ma'am. All right.
I mean, I lived up on the mountain at one point many years ago in Northfield, and I had HughesNet. And if anybody is familiar with satellite internet, during a rainstorm or a cloudy day, it doesn't work.
No.
It's a taxing
Yes.
expense. It's very ridiculous, and it's a great way to take advantage of people who need information. So I'm just glad to see this as a good infrastructure advancement in our society.
well, and as we
Yeah.
talked about at the last meeting, many of those, if not all of those citizens weighed in
Yes.
through the
spoke-
Comcast hearings,
I
the
spoke to a number
ascertainment.
of them way back
Yeah.
when this process started.
So they have stuck with the town on the Comcast
The prob-
process for 2
The problem
years.
is we have our whole method of survival now in our country is dependent upon companies and corporations.
Yeah.
We can't live without them, and we are at the mercy of these contracts and of these stakeholders that have a ginormous influence over how we live our lives. So we need to stay on them, and we need to hold them accountable.
That's why we have to
And
thank Attorney Solomon.
Oh,
That we have
absolutely.
people who actually specialize in this kind of.
because I'm tired
Detail.
of these big
So
companies
you'll
rolling
find, you'll
over.
have
Okay.
the last build out on Miller's Falls, taking us all the way to the Irving line, and
Yep.
then you have 6 on 4 Mile Brook Road.
That's right.
Excellent, which brings us up to approximately 99%, if I remember correctly.
Pretty darn close.
Okay. So we need to do 2 motions then, one for the renewal license and a second one for the extension agreement?
Yes.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve the cable television renewal license granted to Comcast of Massachusetts 2 Inc., granted by the Select Board, Town of Northfield, Massachusetts. Renewal term December 20th, 2022 through December 19th, 2032.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Did you want to do the motion, Alex? I'm sorry.
No, I'm
He can do this
I'm
one.
preparing
You
the
can-
next motion.
Oh, okay, good. The one with the
Just wanna
addresses
get
on
the
it,
dates
yeah.
right. What are the dates for this?
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's done. It's a done thing. So once it's signed, and they have to just complete it. There's no term there.
There's no term, right?
Because the term is once they're built, then they come under the contract for service. So
Yay.
this is a contract to build it.
Today's the 20th. Okay. Therefore, I shall make a motion to enter an agreement between the Town of Northfield, Massachusetts, and Comcast of Massachusetts, the Second Incorporated, for broadband expansion project with an efficacy date on December 20th, 2022.
Motion and a
Second.
thank you. Congratulations.
Alex, can I look at that?
Yes, of
Please.
course.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yay! Thank you. All right,
Thanks,
so
Dee. Oh.
that's awesome.
We have to back you up.
Okay,
Technicality
now
reasons.
what?
There was no vote to have B sign the health district intermunicipal
Oh.
agreement. You voted to approve it, but we need you guys to allow B to sign because she will be
to
the only one
authorize?
signing.
I vote that we
Motion.
we agree to have B sign the motion.
Sign the
sign
intermunicipal
the-
agreement.
Excuse me?
The intermunicipal
The
agreement
intermunicipal agreement
for the health district.
for the health district.
I second Mary's motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for that catch.
You
So
guys
I'm
approved it,
authorized
but-
to sign now.
Right, because
Okay.
it's going to be signed at a later date.
Who caught
Gotcha.
There you go.
that?
Person
Sandra.
Is that you?
She has to put all those in the minutes. So
Oh, Sandy.
she's got to make sure they're all there.
Got
Okay,
that.
so now we need a,
Please.
where do we sign on these? All of us or just on the extension one? Alex, this is for you to
I have to
sign.
see the back of it. I can't remember.
It says sign here and then,
I think it's just one. I think you just signed. I think you're the lower one, right?
Is
Yeah.
that something the chair signs?
do I need to be authorized then?
You
Or
already
is it just
voted.
one?
They just voted to have you the agreement. I think if you're doing it right now, yeah, you can vote to authorize it or sign it, but you voted to approve it, so
Okay, we're good.
I think you're good to sign once they've approved it, the
Okay.
agreement.
Okay.
And that one I
Now
did.
I've
William,
lost track. So
William Solomon.
did we
has to-
actually vote on the extension agreement?
Yes. 'cause
Yes.
All right,
Alex
just, I'm gonna
got it.
press the reset button here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, and I'm gonna sign this right now, just so Alex you can sleep well tonight knowing this is all done and signed.
Finally. Such a headache.
Well, and thank you to Andrea for really shepherding this
Pushing
whole
it.
thing.
Yeah, you represented the board a lot with those people.
Yeah.
Lots of meetings.
I got one of the people right now texting me.
Yay!
I told you they'd know.
Instant.
Information
I love it.
highway of the modern era.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, they were able to
interactive
send
TV.
that text through.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, ARPA, let's talk sewer aerators.
Yeah. The aerator stopped working. It's expensive to repair that,
Oh yes.
Well, they're getting new ones.
The
but it was
ones-
over 40 years old.
They were very old.
You know,
They were old. I remember looking
it's
at them.
almost as old as me.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Almost.
almost,
That's old.
but not quite.
I'm only 29.
Okay, me too. So do you want to give us an overview and then we can, I think,
We talked about it last meeting a little, didn't we?
I think so. You should have the folder right there for the,
Yeah.
right, so, actually this is two pieces of equipment
Right.
because the one aerator has failed. And
we're,
they're the same age, so if the second one fails, effectively shut the plant down. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bernie,
No,
but
you
that's
will.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
He can certainly speak to what that means. So it made sense to get both of them replaced at the same time. Why would you
Right.
not?
yeah, so one aerator stopped working in early November. The plant went through the process of possible repair. During this process, we learned the age and damage to the aerator was excessive. The cost to repair was approximately $10K. The legacy aerators are over 40 years old. The normal lifespan is 20. So we got our, whatever the money was, we got it out of those. And the capacity is 10 horsepower. Isaac was able to locate 2 new aerators for $22,200, and the electrical installation is $1,648. The new aerators will build out 20 more years and have capacity of 15 horsepower per aerator. Okay, so can I get a motion to,
Well, can I just ask something? What's that mean when they say build out for 20 more years? That
the purchase that you're making means that you extend the life of the aerators, you put new aerators in, and it's good for 20 years.
You have it,
that's it.
It's a
Even
life
that-
expectancy,
Life
minimum life
expectancy.
expectancy you're expecting.
Right,
about
and the
20.
prior ones we had were 40 years
Yeah,
old.
you might get 30, 40 out of these, you might. You know,
But the expectancy is 20, so
expectancy is-
I get it.
anything past that is gravy, it sounds
I
like.
get it. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so can I get a motion to approve the use of ARPA funds in the amount of $24,848 for the purchase of 2 new aerators for the sewer?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that is the total cost for the two, right?
Yes,
Oh.
with electrical installation.
Okay, thank you.
It's,
Wanted to make
it's
sure
very
you're-
important, you know,
Mm-hmm. I'm
basically aerators work in a fashion where you're pushing, I think, like air and oxygen to an area so that the bacteria has a more lively atmosphere to feed on.
Yeah, it
Something like
rotates,
that.
so it moves
Rotates.
the oxygen
Yeah.
around.
Kind of like composting,
Yeah.
sounds like.
Yep.
Okay, and update for you guys, this is just laying the groundwork for, we talked about it last time, it's going to be coming probably January, at our January 10th meeting, both the storefront program and the premium pay program.
Okay.
So the storefront program, and we're thinking, when we had the ARPA discussion, it might be nice to have you take a look at the program before it comes to the select board meeting,
Okay.
just based on your business experience and your interest.
All right.
The ARPA committee reviewed it with Mallory, our new grant development director, gave her some good feedback, so she was gonna go back and make some tweaks to it, but we didn't see,
She did already.
well,
She's already sent it back to me.
she's on
so
top of everything at
We
this.
just have to decide
She's a
when,
Sullivan.
we have to decide
you
when
go.
our next ARPA meeting is going to be, and I
Your
think we should
sister.
just invite Mary to that meeting, and when I send the material out, Mary will get it, and then Mary could come to the meeting and
Oh, good idea.
participate in that discussion.
Can you do that, Mary?
Yes, please.
Okay, because I really want to get your feedback on that. And then premium pay, we are on version 5. So we've been adjusting, I have a spreadsheet that I adjust based on the feedback and based on double checking employee information with the treasurer. So the only thing that remains is for me to sit down with the 3 chiefs to look at it overall. So each department has had the information, and now what I'm looking for is just an overview approach of all of the departments looking at this premium pay. So that when it comes before the select board, it's not like, oh, well, this is what this department thought, and then this is what this department thought. I wanted the 3 public safety departments to just take a look at it overall together. Bernie?
It's also going to include Isaac at the treatment plant. He's been
Yes.
testing for COVID
Yes.
since
Yep.
it started.
And there's a couple of people
He's
who work,
exposed to it all the time.
yeah, it does include Isaac, and there
Okay.
includes some other staff that,
Oh, good.
at town
Yeah,
hall
I just
who
want to
were
make sure we weren't
possible
forgetting
exposure.
anybody. I was
No,
just
we
No.
take care of
No.
Isaac.
No.
We
No.
take
Yeah.
care of Isaac.
Yeah.
No, no, he's
Okay.
in
No,
the,
I
did-
just make sure
Well,
we're
I'll
getting
just
everybody.
explain, that's a good question, though. Thank you for double checking.
Absolutely.
We have a master list of
Mhm.
all the employees who worked
Okay.
during that period.
Okay.
We subtracted anyone who's no longer working for the town. And then we looked at whether or not they're part-time or full-time or occasional, because some people only work a few hours every now and then. And separated those out into the different, so when you look at the structure, the model that I'm bringing, it will look at the highest level of exposure to the lowest level of exposure, as well as full-time, part-time, and minimal or occasional hours, so that everybody gets a piece of the ARPA pie, but not all in the same amounts. And that,
How much?
I'm sensitive to
it's
the,
different for different tiers and levels.
yeah, and I'm sensitive to the different amounts, and that's really what I want to double check before we, the ARPA committee's been great about giving feedback, but to me,
Oh, thank you.
it's the department heads and the department heads working together that I'm like, okay, if I present this to the select board, I don't want to be getting feedback after the fact that I could have gotten prior to bringing it, right? So anyway, so that's just a heads up that we're already teeing things up for January.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we thought it made sense based on the storefront program and figuring out how to run the storefront program. That's also why we want you to sit in on that meeting too, is how are we going to administer grants associated with storefront improvement. So what the committee recommended was appointing Mallory Sullivan to the ARPA committee.
Yeah.
So if I could get a motion to...
Yes.
Yes, thank
I'll
you.
make a motion to appoint Mallory Sullivan to the ARPA committee.
I second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mallory. Already working.
So, I guess a little late for this, but a question. So is the ARPA storefront program already in the works? Like, is Mallory already started a little something?
Oh, I'll send you
Oh.
the 6 pages, including the application.
Okay.
Right now, it's a description and
But she's done everything all the way through application, and we were just tweaking it, like giving feedback, and she wanted that, like, what are you talking for amounts and owners versus, I mean, there's a whole thing, but I'll send that to you.
Okay.
And you'll see, she's put together, a pretty descriptive, while trying to be sensitive that you don't want to make it overly difficult or
Right.
burdensome.
but you don't want to
Thanks,
just be
Andrea.
yeah.
That's great.
So she's been working on that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, and I think what we're looking for at this point is how do you think people would react, right? Mallory put something together based on her experience and how these things typically run, but it's really, okay, how would a Northfield business owner look at it? That's
Okay.
what we're going to be discussing in January prior to the select board meeting, and then we'll bring it to the select board meeting on January 10th.
Very good then.
Okay, emergency services facility, designer contract amendment and notice to proceed. So you guys have a meeting tomorrow, and this is needed for the meeting tomorrow? Or it was
It was presented at the last
meeting,
I
and,
mean, Heath was there, you were there, can speak to it a little bit. So when this is something that kind of gets negotiated through, when you think about your owner project manager, when you think about your architect, we've been doing it in phases. And we do the initial contract discussions and fee discussion principle with them based on certain expectations. Well, as the project evolves, the project itself can change. It can go up, it can go down. It can become more expensive, less expensive, more work, less work, more difficult because of permitting, more consultants brought in. So it's not unusual that certain fees might, change, or ask the board to change those fees over time. So when the proposal for design services was negotiated, it was based on certain assumptions. Well, those assumptions were prior to COVID, like pricing, sizing, all those things. And obviously as it's progressed and we've looked at the kinds of things that we're talking about doing now, including multi-level and green energy and all sorts of things, the project it's now more concrete, and the scope, as we move into the next phase where they've done the preliminary and they're now going to start doing the real specs, they're asking for a change based on the change of the project over time. And so this is for the next phase, moving forward towards the design development. I don't know if I missed anything in how they explained it at the meeting.
That's pretty much all I gathered
And
from it. I feel like it took way longer to explain though, so.
Well, I mean, there's different ways that they do it. There's square foot, there's cost of project,
Right.
and they put it in there, the whole analysis on how these things get determined. And they wanted to be very thorough in the letter as to
looks
why
very
they're asking
thorough.
for the change, how it was computed, how it was, and there was an initial request a few weeks back, and the OPM and myself, and they met with them and talked about it and everything. So this is a second request with what we feel is a better request.
more advantageous.
Well, for us.
Yes, that's what I
Um,
mean.
So, but yes,
Quick question?
sure.
Yes, Bernie.
So even with this change, this amendment, the money has already been
Yes.
appropriated from the last town meeting? So this is, okay,
Yes.
we're still covered.
Yes.
It's already been voted on. That's all I
Yes,
wanted
no, we
to know.
appropriated enough funds to get
I was
through these
wondering if we had
phases.
appropriated enough.
Yes, and been
Okay.
very careful to make sure that we
Okay.
had, because any money that we don't spend in these will obviously move into the construction. So I wanted to make sure there was enough money to make sure that we didn't have to have something come up in the middle, knowing that if we didn't spend it, it would still continue into the project.
Okay.
So it didn't hurt to appropriate more than we might have even estimated on design and development, because just goes into the project.
Alex?
Oh, I just have comments. I have nothing more to add, but just comments. Are we allowed to say them if it's regarded to that?
Are you asking me that question because it's going to be something?
Oh, no, not at all. No. No, if it's going to be controversial, I'll just say it. No.
Right. That's what I was like, why is he asking permission?
Well, it's just important for the residents to know that progress is an investment, and progress is a sometimes expensive investment. So I know there's a lot of people in town who are afraid of these numbers. I guess maybe a lot is the wrong word to use, but there are those that are concerned who were at town meeting who aren't looking forward to spending this type of money. But like I said, we just
Well,
gotta.
the size is daunting. It's
Yes.
not something we normally encounter unless you've been in
Yeah.
on large projects, either municipal or otherwise. So I think some people understand the scale of it, and for other folks, it just looks daunting, and there's a lot that we've read through on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Can I
Good to
ask
point
a
that out.
question? And I don't
Yeah.
know if you have the answer, if it's an appropriate time, but what is happening to the fire station?
okay. That's for another discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on this contract, or let's, because I'm looking at the whole agenda for tonight and we're like halfway through. So,
Gotta keep moving here.
yeah, let's keep moving. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
And then, yes, you have to approve this.
Are these two or one, designer contract amendment and notice to proceed? Is it two?
I would do two.
Two motions. Okay, so I need a motion to approve the designer contract amendment.
I motion that we approve the designer contract amendment as dated from December 9th, 2022 from the architectural firm.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now can I get a motion on the notice to proceed?
Make a motion to approve the notice to proceed from
Kalo?
Keolo and
To
Beanie.
KO.
Beanick.
You're issuing it.
Correct. To Keolo.
I'll
and
be
Beanick
writing it.
from the select board.
Second.
Excellent. Bernie got the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, building committee size.
This came up last meeting. We kind of had a bit of a scramble. We brought this up before, and I think
I wanted to put it on the agenda
Well, and I
again.
discussed it with someone else too. It was a bit of a scramble to have a quorum, actually, and it's not the first time that this has happened. It happened more in the past, happened a couple times through the process, but the process got pretty engaging and everybody came, and now it's, now it's the slog. But getting a quorum of a group of 9 is hard. That's 5 people through all, and we're meeting more and more frequently because of the nature of this. So B wanted to put on the agenda, kind of thinking about, doesn't mean people can't participate, doesn't mean people who are interested in, who are on the committee now can't attend and be heard, and I'm sure they'd be respected, but they could also be represented by the person that is the head of their department. For example, we have more than one person from police, we have more than one person from fire. Does it not make sense that they could communicate through their chief to be part of that? And if we could get the size down a little bit, we've got a better shot at getting enough people regularly to make the quorum, because once these meetings start happening, decisions are being made and we can't put off meetings.
Not only that, but we are paying for professional time.
Well, and we are asking them to use a pretty expedited schedule right now, because we'd really like to bid this spring, which means they've got a very short window to get. That's why we do notice to proceed. They got to get those bid specs written. We want to get that bid out by the end of January, so they've got all of February to get things back by March, so we can have public presentations in April to bring to town meeting in May. I mean, that's a very aggressive schedule. It's
This building committee is strictly for the emergency building?
Yes.
Yes.
And there are currently 9 people on it?
Yes.
And we want to downsize.
Just because we're having
right.
trouble getting 5 all the time, and if you downsize it a little, the ability to
I
hit
get
3
it.
or 4 people's schedules is easier than hitting 5 people's
And
So what are
schedules.
you
out
saying,
of
7?
Out of these
5?
9 people, do any of them have any of them come forward to say, I'll back away?
No, and
Or
we
do
did
we-
bring it
how
up at
does
a
that
meeting
go?
way back, and nobody seemed to want to volunteer, but I think the idea was if we pick, we have somebody from planning board, we have somebody from
Right.
finance committee, we have a select board member, and then if we take the 3 chiefs,
You've got 6.
you got 6, and that's fine. That's a quorum of 4 to meet.
And who are the other,
You have some additional
Four,
firefighters, and you have some additional police officer.
and no citizens?
Well, other than finance committee member and
Right.
and planning board member. I mean,
Okay.
they're all citizens in
Well,
your town.
you know what I meant.
But
Yeah.
well, your fire chief doesn't
Yeah,
have to be, or
private
your,
citizen.
technically he wouldn't have to live in town,
Well,
but he is actually. A
we had
citizen.
also
but you know
talked
what I
about putting an energy committee person on there, but the way the project is working,
They're going directly to.
they're
the-
going directly to the energy committee, and they had a whole presentation and meeting with them. So as opposed to like expanding the committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, Heath, they did decide that the working group was going to be the 3 chiefs, right?
Yeah, they're doing the regular meetings once a week with the 3 chiefs. They
Right.
have a regular thing going with
Yeah.
them.
Right. So what I was thinking to
But this
manage
group's
the
been meeting every
number,
2 or 3 weeks still
right?
to get decisions made. You
We
still have to
they've
meet.
been every week.
Right, but to get
Yeah.
decisions made, you still have to bring it back
Right.
to the full committee. So.
Okay, well, this makes sense to me.
And the energy committee, I mean, once they've had their initial input on the
Right.
design plans and those are solidified into what they're going to put into the building, then really their portion is kind of
Yeah,
done.
that's
So
why
putting
I'm
someone
kind
on
of
to have to go through the whole build might be something more than they want to commit to,
Yeah.
from an energy committee standpoint, once
Well-
they've been through their piece.
So the 6 sounds,
manageable.
yeah. And it seems like it has every stakeholder that needs to be there. Police,
Right.
EMS, fire, finance, select board, planning board.
Right, and then anybody obviously can go to anyone on the committee at any time, or attend the meetings,
Or
they're
I was
open.
just going to say, they
They're
can
all
all attend the
open.
Which they're
meetings.
very sparsely attended.
There was a little
Yes.
while there, but they've kind of dwindled down again.
So I will say that I usually attend on a regular basis, so I think this change, given who attends and how many attend, I think the change makes sense. And what I want to make sure of, I don't want to be sitting in a meeting where we're not sure if we're going to get quorum, and we're having professionals come and get paid to present to the committee, and need to make decisions on a really rapid fire basis over the next few months in order to present costs to the town in the spring. So that's why I'm suggesting that we cut the committee to 6, which would include the folks who normally attend anyway. And we
And
won't
I don't want to minimize the contributions of people who've
No,
been
I
members.
do
and
not.
Certainly,
Everybody-
Efficiency
some of
purposes.
them through many years.
This is for quorum and
Yeah.
efficiency purposes, because you guys are going to be, you're meeting almost as much as the finance committee does during budget cycle. That's a different workload for committee members, and it puts a different strain on quorum. So anyway, so that's, I would entertain a motion to adjust the building committee size to 6, so that quorum is now set at 4, and we thank all of the committee members for their continued participation.
Do you want their names listed, or is the positions
Do I want your name?
if they're going to reconstitute the committee right now, or do you just want
For clarity.
Say it again?
give their names
Oh,
for clarity?
in
Do I need to look it up then?
It's Steve Sarandinsky from Planning Board, Steve Sarandinsky from Planning Board, Bernie Parada from Finance Committee, Heath from the Select Board, and then all 3 chiefs. So Skip,
Correct. That
Chief
will be
Skip
the
Donnell,
composition.
Chief John Hall, and Chief Mark Fortier.
Right.
And who informs the other folks?
Well, we have a meeting this coming
Okay.
week if they attend.
Thank you.
And we've talked about this with Skip before.
Yeah, I'll send an email out too. I can email tomorrow and let them know what the select board voted. I will do
Okay,
that.
so
Okay.
I think I've got this.
Okay,
here.
thank you, Alex.
I'll make a motion to resize the building committee from 9 members to the 6 members of Steve Sarandinsky, Bernie Parada, Heath Cummings, Chief John Hall, Chief Skip Donnell, and Chief Mark Fortier, to have a quorum of 4.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, discussion of road closure due to weather conditions. I guess this was brought up by Chief Hall, but it sounds more complicated than I initially thought.
Well, it's not that it's more complicated. I think there's a couple things you'd have to
Procedurally.
discuss. Right. I did ask the attorney on the closing road. First of all, it'd have to be a town road. So anything that's not a town road, obviously you can't close. Which
Should we
becomes,
I'm sorry, should we just back up and explain what the
Sure.
idea was?
Well, there was, due to weather conditions, of course, Gulf Road and South Mountain Road in the last storm had some
Major.
issues with vehicle
If
impacts
people
and
were
weather.
smarter, that we wouldn't have this problem.
Well, it's
you know.
also, the road was repaved. I think people travel faster.
What do you mean?
When somebody takes their front-wheel drive Plymouth Neon that has bald tires on it, you're stupid. You're gonna get stuck.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
gotcha,
and there's
gotcha.
you're just in a storm, and those
Yeah.
are curvy
I
and
think
windy roads.
This particular instance, there were folks who had four-wheel drive and were local and were still having problems. So
I don't know.
I
So-
know that for a fact. So
But I did ask what's the legality? Can the town close the road if it's a town road? Now you got to be careful because, like for example, 142 is actually a county road. So that's actually
okay.
So Mount Herman Station Road is not actually a town-owned road, although we maintain it. So we'd have to make sure that we're doing town roads. And if you're doing it out of public safety, it's the select board chair who makes the decision, same as if you were declared a state of emergency under any other rule, because it's a public safety concern. So
Closure per incident is made by
the call to close the road would be made by the select board chair. I'm
per
assuming
incident.
But, right.
per time, yes. Oh, yes. And would be each time. And I'm assuming they'd be doing that in consultation with, highway and police. Somebody would, that's what I'm saying. So you could do it, but you need to meet with them to discuss what's that protocol going to look like. Who's going to call the chair, and then the chair's who's going to notify highway, who's going to put up a barricade. We just have to make sure that if you wanted to do it, and there might be instances in which you do, that we preset what that's going to look like and make sure that there's a protocol so that all of a sudden, the police, because it's dangerous or there's an accident, don't just put up a barricade and the highway doesn't know and then comes plowing around the road and takes the barricade out. I mean, everybody needs to be part of the process, and there needs to be just something in place to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is when going to do it, and this is who's going to tell that it's done.
it's a procedure.
Yeah, just so
So-
that nobody's surprised.
So they close the road, the people that live on the road, just
It's closed to through traffic.
through traffic. Okay, I mean, we can still, and
Yes.
Tommy will still get there and plow when he
Yes.
can.
No, the idea
I know
is
there was
that,
issues with the plowing and.
well,
and
the dirt road issue is a completely
separate,
separate
yeah,
issue. But you have to think about that. Like if you put a barricade in the road in a snowstorm, it better have a blinking light on it.
Yeah.
And if it does, then they got to plow around the barricade. So at some point, someone's going to lift the barricade because they got to plow through. So you just want to work that out with highway. What would make sense? Who would do it? How would it happen? So that it's safe for traffic, safe for residents, and safe for highway and police crews that are dealing with the storm. It's doable. We just would want to meet and talk about what that looks like. Would be
Okay.
my recommendation.
Right, so what you're saying at this point is we don't have a specific procedure. It's not hard to come up with one. I guess what I would like to know is from the board, is this something that you want me to pursue with highway and the police chief? The police chief has already spoken with the Irving police chief, and they're in agreement
That they would be willing to
and
consider.
in coordination that they would be willing to handle it. But we want to make sure that a highway and we're following things legally
Well, and
for
just
the
so
town.
right, there's a protocol, so he would know, who would let highway know,
Right.
who would put up a barricade, Just so that,
And then this would also give a chance for citizens to weigh in to say, you know, we think it would be good to close
to through traffic.
to through traffic during storms.
And it's always Gulf Road and South Mountain Road?
Well, it's the steepness, also the elevation makes them very difficult
Yeah,
in terms
but
of a
it's
storm.
It's always,
Generally, but not
Yeah.
always.
mhm.
There could be other kinds of storm conditions. There's times now where they'll close a road because of flooding.
Yeah.
And the highway will make that decision. Sometimes they close the whole road because you can't get through. And that's just immediate on the spot public safety, roads closed, roads gone. And obviously they have to do that. But this is more conditional. Like conditions mean that for public safety purposes,
Right.
you need to have a decision.
Okay, so shall we, does the board want to authorize me to work out a procedure and then we can chat about it with Chief Hall at the January 10th meeting?
Mhm.
Can I talk with Tommy about it too?
That's what I
Yeah.
mean, I'll
Okay.
work it out with, but Chief Hall will be here on January 10th anyway, so it was his initiative and he's worked it out with Irving. I think the
Yeah.
other thing, to your point, Mary, is people get routed onto Gulf Road from Irving, from Route 2,
Mhm.
because of their
No sense of direction, yeah.
their
Their
maps.
GPS just tells them it's the way to
GPS tells
go.
them to go, that's
Yeah,
the
no
most
sense of
efficient way to
direction.
go.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a frustrating topic because,
Yeah.
you know, people just don't use their head when they drive. I'm sorry, but they don't, especially when they're not from the area. You rely on your technology too much and not your instincts of how to actually handle a vehicle. And if you paid more attention to that, then you would have a lot of issues on the road be solved, but, you know, that'll never happen, so.
I make a motion that we, what's my motion?
to authorize me to work with the highway department and the police,
Yeah.
and any other departments needed in order to come back with a procedure.
Brilliant, I second.
Yeah. You can make motions too, B.
Yeah.
I know, I
You
just,
can. You can
Generally,
just-
chairs don't.
Yeah.
generally chairs don't, but I can certainly
But you
I motion
prime
that,
the pump.
I motion that Madam Chair B. Jacques, get in touch with the Highway Department seniors to discuss the Gulf Road situation.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, motion in
Please, somebody?
Second.
a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Nay.
okay, thank you.
What, she's
No?
not gonna talk to
You don't want
me?
one?
I'm staying out of it. Just nay, no.
Okay, 2 nays tonight. It's
All
exciting
right.
in Northfield.
2 nays? Who else said
He
no?
made,
Right.
he made the sewer thing.
That's
Get-
right.
Getting spicy,
Something.
guys.
I didn't
Okay,
approve this either.
Thank you.
I was just gonna abstain, but,
do you want to abstain?
no, I'll say nay. I really don't.
It's a 3-2.
You live on the
It's a
mountain, man.
3-2, but I live up there.
Yeah.
I've lived up there too.
Yeah, so.
Aren't you tired of the through traffic up there? That's what I normally hear from folks on Gulf Road.
Oh, I don't live on Gulf. I live on the
I
South
know, but I
Mountain
mean,
side.
yeah, but
I mean,
coming over the mountain.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just nervous that road closure will allow them to just put off the actual plowing and maintaining the road anytime there's a storm. I want to see where it goes, but I'm not crazy about this idea. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, duly noted. Well, all we're doing is,
mention to the highway if you ever had
Huh?
if something to mention to the highway if you ever had to close it is it's closed to through traffic,
Yes.
not to be closed for maintenance.
It wouldn't be maintenance in a snowstorm, I would think.
Maintenance to clear the snow.
okay, guys, so, I'm going to have a conversation with the highway department, who knows how to plow. He was just here last week talking about roads, right? And I'm responding to an idea from Chief Hall. It's not committing the select board to anything. It's not committing the town to anything. I'm just going to explore a simple procedure that would put pressure on and add time to the police, the highway, and the chair of the select board. So, and we'll bring it back for discussion, and you can see whether or not you want to go through with it. And then that'll give a chance for citizens to weigh in, which will be critical.
Okay.
Okay, so
That's-
January 10th, be there. Okay, select board response to preliminary review meeting regarding Soul Fest.
So
So,
those
You
people.
have it somewhere. Did we press, did you put the copies in there?
Yeah, we've got,
I
they
got an
came to
email,
me.
but
Yeah, but I think we printed them out again,
you
didn't
printed
we?
them out, right?
I don't have a printout copy, but.
Sandra, did we print them out for tonight? Or did we
All
just?
the responses?
No, just her bees.
Her draft.
I thought I gave it to you.
Is there one that
Is
looks
it
like
in
I
this?
don't have it
Look
here,
under your
but I know I
paperwork.
have it in my computer.
I thought it was just through
Says
email.
over.
I mean, I
I
printed.
saw the email, I didn't get the
I don't have
draft
it.
over
Right.
here on with my paperwork.
Do you need it, do you want to make a copy? I have one right here. I thought I had printed one out, but
Okay, well, let's come back to that. We can,
just make a couple copies
because
of
we're
that.
going to need to look at the printout. I'm going to need to look
Yeah.
at the printout.
I've got it right
Yeah,
there.
I'm gonna pull it up on my phone.
I'm
Yeah.
pulling it up on my computer because I
The
can't
draft
read from the
response.
printout.
Oh, you
anyway.
can't?
Yeah, I've got it right
Oh.
here. A very good letter.
Yes, Bea, I went through it with a fine tooth comb.
Oh, do you want to go ahead and start talking about it then?
Well, I just want to say that, I'm appreciative of all the work that you put into this draft, first of all, because that's a lot of information and you obviously had to go back and look at conversation, notes, particulars, exactly what James brought to the board for the pre-application. That was just a lot of information you had to unpack. And your answer to it, if I may call this your answer to the pre-application.
Well, this is, by the way, this is for the board, so that's
Yeah.
a draft. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, just the draft alone, was just well thought out. It's A to Z, it makes sense. I just always have this one issue, is we wouldn't be in this situation if we had a cap on special event attendees, which we voted not to do, and I didn't, but, that's my frustration. Alex has his with drivers. I have my frustration with the fact that if we had voted in to put a cap on special events in the town of Northfield, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. So, but with that said, B, thank you very much for the concise draft.
Okay. We have talked about caps before.
Right,
Bernie.
but, yeah.
Okay, let's
Okay,
walk
yeah.
through it.
No, just, yes, I read your draft, very good job. And that is, just, make note that it is B's draft, that we haven't had a chance to, add our 2 cents to it.
Correct.
So, just to make note of that, but I was impressed, it was a very good draft.
That's what you're doing now.
That's
Okay.
why I brought it to the
You
Oh,
have to-
okay.
To discuss it, you have to bring
So
something
you
to
actually
the
have
table.
something to,
Good.
to
That's just, you have
reflect
two
on.
copies of it there. It's the
So
same thing.
let's take a step
Oh.
back. So the purpose
That
of
was for Mary,
this,
but she
okay,
doesn't want it. That's fine, just leave it
Doesn't
there.
want it? Okay.
Well, you can see it.
Okay, yeah, I looked at all the letters.
hang on one second.
Oh.
I'm pressing the
She's
reset.
selecting this, yeah.
No, I'm pressing the reset button, which is this.
Yeah.
The point of this discussion topic
Mhm.
is for the board to reflect on the discussion that we had and the presentation that we heard, and then the subsequent 3 weeks worth of written citizen comments that we got.
Mhm.
So that's the purpose of this agenda topic. I know I tend to parse out the different steps, but I think it's really important, and the point that you raised, Bernie, is this is not me, this is me putting together a draft
Mhm.
based on what I thought I heard the select board discuss and ask of Mr. Spencer, and what came across in the written comments. And what Sandra did for the written comments was to note at the top of each one what the highlights were. So then I could look across all the comments and go, okay, this public safety or traffic has come up 10 times over the, yeah.
I did a,
Oh, you did a spreadsheet, excellent.
yeah.
So, and what I also wanted to point out is this is to, and I underlined the word distill discussion and comments. It's not to be a huge, weighty list of everything anyone ever possibly said on the topic. That's not the goal here. The goal is to summarize and distill and then be able to provide a response that the citizens can look at, as well as we can send it to Mr. Spencer. We're just talking about this as a draft, and so whatever you want to put into it or subtract from it, I'm more than happy to do that on behalf of the board. But I thought this would kind of get the ball rolling. So Bernie, go ahead.
Well, like
Where
I
would
said,
you like to start?
Well, most of it was very good. I spread things out on a spreadsheet. We had 14 letters come in, and I itemized the topics, how many each topic came in, like attendance too large.
Yeah.
Out of the 14 people, 8 people mentioned that, which also reflects one of my big things, and I don't know if I should say it or not, but I think this event is way too large for a residential neighborhood like Northfield. That's my personal opinion on the attendance. There's a few other things, like the noise came up 8 times, infrastructure, water came up 7, emergency services and safety because of the large crowds came up 7 times. Traffic came up 9 times. That was the most of all the things discussed. I mean, there's other things on here, sanitation, security. I just wanted to voice my, nervousness with that there's not enough benefit for the town of Northfield versus the risk we're taking having an event of this size. That's cut and dry. That's my opinion.
Do you feel that's captured in the draft, or would
I did see you. I did feel that you said the size was too much. I'd like to see their proposals. I have to try to keep an open mind. I know. I laugh too. I got laugh out louds on here, and oh my gods. But it's just there's a lot of things, and when I do see the proposal, I did cons and pros, and I found 7 cons, and I couldn't find any pros to having that in this town.
I can think of a pro.
Well, let's go around the
Oh,
table.
no, but I welcome everybody's
So-
opinion, but
It's
I'm
like-
just giving mine.
Okay,
Let's go
so-
around the table.
Like one
So
pro.
from a discussion standpoint, I want to make sure you're done, Bernie,
Yeah.
for now.
Yeah.
And always come back to the draft so I know whether or not we need to add or edit or emphasize or any. I mean, we can literally go through it and read it, but we don't need to do that right now.
No, I thought your draft hit all the key points. You did hit all the points. I read through it like 4 times this afternoon.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes, and I did hit it.
It took me all
I
weekend.
maybe
I would have had it out
might have
sooner if I
worded
didn't
it
have
a little-
first light meetings
A little
last
stronger in a couple of places, but overall,
week. Okay.
you did hit the points.
Where would you strengthen in here?
The public safety, and with the traffic and parking. I mean, just the combination of the traffic. You said clogging. Yes, it's going to happen. I'm more looking at the public safety.
Yep.
And then there's the noise. I mean, let's face it. You're in a residential neighborhood. The noise levels are going to be bad. We've had complaints when they have concerts over on NMH on the other side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have this in a residential neighborhood. I've to the point I've had 9 negatives to every 1 person that says it wouldn't be so bad. When I've had people talk to me, I'd say it's like 90%.
That's a
of
good
people.
ratio. I have about that too.
Yes,
Okay.
That's it. But no, this was good. This is a good I like this, tell you the
Well,
truth.
the reason why it came about is because Andrea and I were talking about it, and we added the preliminary review step at the August meeting. We added that to the policy. So the question that Andrea and I were talking about, as you know, we look at agendas, is what's the next step after the preliminary review, but before the application? What signals, what directional feedback can we give based on the presentation that we heard,
Yeah.
and then the comments that we got after that?
Yeah.
So that's how this came about.
Yeah, my only other comment was on the event size and the venue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just, I wrote down, nobody in their right mind would have an event of this size in a residential neighborhood. It just really, you know, I can see having it at a resort or a venue that has place to have this, but it's, you've got a, 2 or 3 acre spot they want to have this for 8,500 people.
Not enough.
It's really, it doesn't make sense to me. That's,
Okay, so the language that I used was, the scale of the proposed event is typically handled by long-established venues like Greenfield Community College and the Franklin County Fairgrounds, the Tri-County Fairgrounds in Northampton, and Mountain Park in Holyoke, just for a few examples. These, and I underlined, already have experience, facilities, and parking, as well as better/nearer access to Route 91 and lodging. So, and then I put in a thing about,
I think at that point is where maybe you would have her add something about the residential neighborhood aspect.
yeah,
I've got that in the paragraph before that.
Right.
yeah.
So what I put was the 2023 Soul Fest event is proposed for a residential neighborhood in town, not at a recreational resort outside of town with extensive parking, camping, and activities which keep concert goers mostly in place for the event. Given area lodging capacity, or I should put lack of, we presume a large percentage of attendees will stay elsewhere and commute twice daily. If so, details and estimates for camping and parking so far are woefully insufficient. In addition, the map presented shows parking areas in near wetland or marshy or uneven land. Therefore, traffic and parking is a significant concern, especially in combination with concern for public safety. Right?
That's good.
Okay.
Right, but I think that when you're talking, the reason maybe I'm picking up on what he's saying is,
Yep.
you talked about the residential neighborhood aspect in terms of traffic and parking.
Yep.
And then you, down
Oh,
here, you
and then
talk about
reiterate
event
it?
scale and venue expertise, and it's in a residential, so it's the same thing, but you're talking about it from 2 different angles. Does that make sense?
Talking
Yeah.
about it from a venue point.
One you're talking
not
about,
just a-
Okay,
the
got it.
parking and the clogging
Okay.
and the
Okay,
driving.
so I can take what I just read out and,
Well, I wouldn't
work-
necessarily leave that. I wouldn't move that.
no, I'm not gonna move it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say the points that I made in there need to be made in the event scale versus venue expertise paragraph as well.
More, right, and pertinent to venue scale, the size.
Yep, okay.
So you're saying residential neighborhood twice, but for 2 different reasons. One to
Gotcha.
talk about parking and driving, and one to talk about scale.
Venue, yeah, scale of it, yeah.
It's synergistic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And,
Okay,
and
so,
one last thing,
Yeah.
just to mention it.
This is helpful,
We did
Bernie.
get
Keep
14 letters from citizens. I want to thank them. Those letters were very good, had a lot of good information on them. And,
I put that in the draft
I do appreciate
too.
them. Yeah, I know you did. I just wanted to mention it.
Okay,
They took the time to do
Yeah.
that.
okay, we'll get to that one. Anything else, Bernie, that you
No,
wanna,
that's it. That's all I had
and I
on my
tried to keep it
point.
to 2 pages, so. Okay, Mary?
Okay, thanks, B. And again, just reiterating what I had said before and what Bernie had said.
Yep.
It is exceptionally well done and detailed.
Thank you.
I would very much like an answer to my question, what do we have to do to change the policy to come back and amend it to have a cap of event attendees in this town? In the policy, we made it very clear that we have the right, we held the right to change make any adjustments to this policy
Yep.
via a board collectively. So I have one
Ooh,
question
sorry.
and one statement. So that's my question. What can we do to amend the policy to put a cap on the amount of people at one said event in this town? Not just this event, any event. Because for me, it would send a message to anybody who's looking for a place to have an event. They can go right online and go, well, we won't use Northfield because their cap for attendees is such and such. You know, and then they'll start
Yeah.
looking somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay? Because we've gotten ourselves into a situation which is really quite brilliant because it's testing the waters brilliantly, where some association comes at us and says, well, we want 9,000 people in your town for a weekend, right? Instead of 600, 800, 1,000. You know, this is extraordinary, to say the least. So that's my first question.
You have to put it on the agenda as a review of the permit itself, not through this process. You'd have to put a review of the permit and possible changes on
Okay.
as a line item.
So I'm
on
going
the
to take your question, and then I'm going to recognize Heath. I'm going to take your question, I'm going to put
But
it
I
back.
also have another thing then.
Yeah, I know. Let's
Okay.
deal with this one because
Oh,
it
okay.
has to be a separate agenda topic.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we can,
Because as I said, we would not find ourselves in this situation had we had a cap.
I already heard that.
Great.
Yeah.
Don't get mad at me.
I'm not mad. I'm just,
I'm sensitive, B.
I'm sensitive too.
Okay. Two women. Sensitive women.
Folks who feel strongly, we all feel strongly about what to do.
Mhm.
And we've all had different kinds of input and different suggestions. So what I'm going to ask you on that particular question is,
Okay.
feel free to put the question back to yourself, and what do you want to propose to the select board
Okay.
for a future meeting,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Because then we would put the policy, because this comes up on a regular basis of agenda topics, then we would put the policy on the agenda, right?
Okay.
But it should be a if you feel passionately about it,
Uh-huh.
the reason why I'm getting sensitive is you're asking me like I'm the
I know.
I'm
I
the
should-
grand poobah or
Right.
something, and
okay, well,
I'm
I'm
the
saying it to my constituents, to Heath, to Alex, to
you're saying it
Dre.
to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's make it clear that you put the question back to yourself.
Okay.
How do you want to bring it forward at a future meeting?
Okay.
And then have a discussion with Andrea so that as we prepare agendas,
Yes.
then we can put it on there,
Great.
right?
Yep. I follow you.
Yeah, because we've had the discussion before.
I recall.
Yeah, and there wasn't an easy answer. So that's why I'm putting the onus of your question back to you, because you have the ability as a select board member to bring a proposal to us, right? That we can then, just like I did a draft, you can do a draft and bring it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, good.
And then-
what was the second one?
Given that, but also
Yeah.
within this draft, I was wondering, I mean, it is really great, but is there any way you can strengthen that
Which
their
one?
proposal that they brought to us,
Yeah.
that James brought, was not nearly concise enough, that we felt they had not done, I felt that they had not done their research, and that proposal showed that. Like, I felt that they had not, I mean, I can't say that because that wouldn't be welcome in a court of law, okay? But what I can say is, for me, the proposal was not nearly concise enough, given the this humongous event And I did not feel that they did nearly their due diligence, and I found it laughable.
Do you mean maybe comprehensive enough?
Detailed enough?
Detailed enough?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was pretty concise, maybe too much. I mean,
Oh, I
honestly.
see. You're right. I'm
Concise
using
means-
the wrong word.
I'm just saying, maybe
Thank
you mean
you.
comprehensive. I knew what you were
Yes.
saying. Absolutely
Thank you,
knew what you were
Andrea.
Yeah,
saying.
no.
I stand corrected.
You wanted more detail.
Yes.
So
I got it. I
Okay.
understood.
Okay, that's
So,
all.
But I want to
Mary,
make sure
So
that that's
you
what goes in
say,
the
as mentioned in the start, the goal of this document is to distill discussion and citizens' comments as to express deep concerns in response to the preliminary review.
Yep.
It is not an exhaustive or prescriptive list,
Yep.
but should provide directional feedback as to the priorities of the select board and the community at this point in time.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe you could say something to the effects of, what was that? What did you give us? Nothing. How can we go from that,
Okay, so go back one paragraph.
right? Given the scale of this proposal and events?
Yeah, that one.
Yep. And it's
Work on
important-
that one.
Okay.
So given the scale of this proposed event and its importance, stated importance to the Moody Center,
Oh, we are surprised the due diligence,
e.g.
example, detailed maps, measurement, and numbers, presumably done prior to making a business agreement and announcing this event, wasn't already available and presented at the preliminary review. Okay.
Do you want me to reword that?
I would like to make it a little stronger, like,
Okay.
yes, I would like you to reword that.
Okay. Because you used the word due diligence and I used the word due diligence.
That's true.
Okay. So the conclusion is just wrapping it all up. Really the meat of it is, it should be noted that economic development is a huge ongoing priority for the select board. Our preference is for community-oriented events which create or support steady, organic, sustainable growth for our small businesses versus large, one-time silver bullet efforts which overwhelm them and the town's resources. And that's then when I went, given the scale of this proposed event and its importance to the Moody Center, we're surprised the due diligence wasn't there, basically.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right, so you want me to strengthen that and make that more concise?
If you can, because you're so good at it.
Well, I mean, I'm open to suggestions on how to edit
I
it.
don't have it right now, because I always choke when I'm,
Editing on the spot?
yeah, completely. But can I
Okay.
just ask one more question?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Can we not, I don't know how it works, because it's only my 8th year on the board. Just kidding, my last. Can we not just say no to this? When
don't-
can we vote on this?
you don't have an
and say
application.
yes or no?
You don't have an application.
So we have to wait for an application to come in.
Yes.
And we can't shut anything down policy-wise, legally.
Well, I mean, you added this to the policy in order for them to come first, to get your input, in
So that-
order to make an application.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of preliminary to shut them down before they've actually applied for anything. You don't have
Right.
anything technically in front of you to
But
say yes or no.
given the circumstances that they're trying to book rooms at the Centennial.
Not your problem.
B, they've sold tickets. I mean, can't we take that into consideration, that's
They have every-
egregious?
Well, they have every right to do that.
It's not your problem.
It's not our problem. Yeah.
It can be egregious and not our problem at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
They could
Because-
hold television commercials about this. That doesn't matter.
If we
Right,
say it's not our problem, it doesn't mean we don't care about it. It's
No.
just
Right.
that it's on them if we say no.
uh-huh. Okay,
They bite it. If they bite they take the hit
right.
if this doesn't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to do with a response at the preliminary stage is give strong hints about where we're at. without an application.
And this clearly does do
Yeah.
that, this draft.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay. I
does that
am-
help?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
done for right
Okay.
now.
I appreciate the,
Yeah.
I really appreciate this process, and actually I was looking forward to, it's hard to do the draft because I end up so deep in it. I worked on it at different points over the weekend, so then to bring it to the board, I have to step back from all my wording, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it takes me a
Oh,
bit
for
to
sure.
do that. So I really,
Have they brought an application before us?
no,
And they have not suggested that they will?
it's whatever he said at the
Yeah,
preliminary
I couldn't
review.
remember what he said about following up with an application.
Okay, are you,
Yep,
I'm looking
I'm
at the, okay, Heath, because we still have to,
Got a lot of things
I-
to do.
right.
I'll be quick.
Yeah, that's okay.
The first thing I'll say before I get into any of my notes is just a response on the conversation about a cap, which I don't think it's necessary to even go down that road again because it's purely circumstantial based on the locations that people are going to have these events. That was the part of the discussion. So if you have the Northfield Mountain who says they're going to bring, say we set the cap at 5,000, like what do you even set it at in the first place? That's the big thing. 3,000, 5,000, 8,000, like what do you set it at? It's circumstantial based on where they're proposing to have some sort of an event. So if the Northfield Mountain want to have one of their triathlons of 5,000 people, I think that's doable down there given the right logistics. Throwing 5,000, 3,000 people less than what they're proposing on that campus, I think is a stretch. Having 5,000 people at, Pioneer or the elementary school, I think that's a stretch. It's circumstantial based on whatever the event is that they're proposing. So that's why we didn't set the cap, was take the application, again, that we haven't received yet, take it, evaluate it for what it is, and instead of blanketly saying no because of your number or just straight up saying no, we don't want this because of X, Y, and Z, take it, evaluate it, and just make your decision. Setting a number may be exclusive to an event that we might actually want to have here that would actually be good for the town and good for Northfield Mountain or whatever. But if we set a cap, it's going to immediately exclude that group from wanting to come here when we might actually want to have it. It might be something good for town. So let us take the application, evaluate it. That's why we didn't set the cap. I think this review really did summarize everything as far as the citizens' concerns that have come through the emails and everything else, the stuff that I've heard on the discussions since then. The one thing I want to be very careful with is that we are not giving them any sort of hints. We're not giving them nudges toward what we want to see that you're missing.
Right.
I want to make sure all of that is completely out of there because they're going to drop what they've got and show their best efforts at presenting a responsible plan for the event that they're proposing. If we don't get that, I'm not giving them any hints or nudges in what I want to see. I want them to put what they've got in front of me. If it's not what I want to see, then I won't approve it.
Right. So are you proposing some rewording or
No,
strengthening or
if
emphasizing?
if there are things on here, I don't know. I'm kind of looking at the bullet pointed list of the backside of the page, and I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking that
Why do we have to put it in there?
yeah. Why do we put it in there? But we're putting it in there because we're giving them feedback on the preliminary. Why even have that whole last meeting if we weren't going to provide feedback, right? So I want to make sure that we're not providing so much that we're hand holding an application process. Like, do what you've got, put the things together, present what you have, and if it's not satisfactory, at least by me, I'll be saying no. So far, I haven't seen anything that's going to make me want to say yes. The whole pros and cons thing, the list outweighs the other by a long shot. Bottom line, this picture of what 10,000 people looked like at their last event, I don't know how you're going to fit that up there. So I want to know how that up there is going to be safe.
How they came up with the math, yeah.
In all the different areas they're going to be planning to put
The,
people,
s-
cars,
the
and everything
safety
else.
math, yeah. Do you want me to put more emphasis in the first paragraphs then under public safety and traffic and parking?
I think it's pretty concise. If anything, I think we might.
Oh, it's freezing.
I think we have enough info on here. I think
Okay.
just adding anything more to it, I think us providing any deeper feedback on here is doing just that. Is that's going to be spoon feeding them more information that I really
Yeah.
think is.
Well, we
do.
said at the preliminary review that we are not here to do the job for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know what I want to see, and I'm almost going to make that be a guessing game because they should be crossing every T and dotting every single I that needs to be done before that application comes in front of us. And if it's not done, then it gets
Well,
denied on my part.
I think this goes back to Mary's point, Heath, is if you're making, and I know I said this at the preliminary review, is if you're making a huge business decision in partnership, you would do all the analysis to know whether or not it would even fit.
Right.
Right? At a minimum, whether it would fit or work, that you could actually move forward with that decision. Otherwise, why move forward with it, right? So if the info isn't there already because of this, their own decision-making process, then you're right, we're not going to be adding or saying what it is that you should do in order to present a successful application, never mind an event, right? And that goes back to the venue expertise. If you don't have it, if you had the expertise, you would have presented that information, because you cannot know whether or not you can have an event with that many people in those spaces without having the expertise and the experience to begin with, because you would go through and do all of your mapping and your diagramming and your calculating. Like I said, I think there's a huge math problem in what was not there.
I just want to
go ahead.
close with one
Keep
last
going.
thing is that the shut it down policy wise kind of approach to this is just not something I think we should entertain at all. We can, I've heard that from a lot of different people, and I think that, like I said, I think they can get exclusive toward things we might actually want. Let the people apply and give them their opportunity to do the right thing, but to shut it down just based on what handfuls of people might want. Let the board evaluate it. I think if we adopted a shut it down type of thing, policy-wise, we set caps so these types of things couldn't even, anything near this could even happen, we're going to run the risk of going down the lines of what Northfield has been sort of fabled for, that we don't want progress. I don't want to go down that road. I want to maintain what we have as a character of the town, what's the best for the people, but I just don't want to create something that's like a blanket thing that is going to cap us from doing anything that could somehow be beneficial for the town or what someone's going to provide.
Well,
I think just proper planning is going to be a key part of all this, and I think what we've done so far
hallmark.
with that.
Proper planning should be a hallmark of.
Without it, it's not going to go
Right.
through.
I think what you're talking about is what environment are you setting for other folks who have great ideas?
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want other folks to feel like, oh, I've got a great idea and it's 3,000 people at Northfield Mountain. So you don't want to feel like, oh, I can't bring that forward because I'm just going to get no. When in fact nobody's heard what the idea is because they have different expertise or experience.
One of the considerations that was discussed is that by limiting the number of participants, you also don't, you have to take that into, so if someone says I'm going to do a 10,000 participant person, but it's over 4 days, 2,500 a day. So if you say you cannot have an event that has 4,000 people, then you've eliminated that event and it was only going to be 2,500 a day. So something has to be explainable. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we did go over that.
Because just a straight number.
Is this helping,
Yeah,
Mary?
an event
So-
can be multiple
yeah.
days, the
Okay.
way you've phrased it. And therefore you had to have some leeway to say, yeah, you could have an event that has 2,000 people a day in it for 10 days and have 20,000 people here, but no more
Yeah.
than 2,000 at a time.
Now, I did try and indicate at the outset of this that per the special events policy, the select board can ask for more information and may impose additional steps and requirements, including event size and time limits, before approving or denying an application. Any application for events larger than 500 should expect to receive more, deeper, longer scrutiny throughout the process beyond preliminary review, especially for new large-scale events with potentially significant impact on public safety and infrastructure.
Yeah,
Right? So I wanted to reference that we do have that ability. Anyway, Alex, I wanted to make sure you get in there.
Oh.
Heath, are you all done before? Okay. Thanks
My
for
turn,
that. That was
huh?
really,
Well, I don't really have much to say. You
Really?
folks all
What?
kind of covered it. I don't. No, I mean
to
we've
do this
spent
again.
we've spent so much time on this issue, and my comments are brief. I'm not as. The more I've been on this board, the less political I get in crafting responses to be correct. I just think, they're arrogant, their assuming attitude through previous ticket sales and other means of promoting is insulting to the board, its residents, and its select board. And that's what I'd like to see in the letter. It won't be in there because it's, very direct. I'm a very direct person. This is a negative organization. They're being negative. I don't like negativity in Northfield. I think their intentions are good, but they're not. I don't think they see past their nose, and past the nose is the negativity that this can put onto the town, and I don't like that. I don't like it at all. It would be wrong of me to say this, but if they gave us $15 million for a public safety complex and $15 million for a bridge in town, that would be a nice token of appreciation for letting them have this event, but that'll never happen. And that's the only way that I think at this point they'll get a vote from me. But yeah, so that's it.
Go under bribery?
I don't think it's bribery. I think it's a gesturing donation that people with money do.
Does it have to be called
I think it's
Soulfest emergency
I think
building?
okay, I think it's far-fetched.
Like the Verizon thing?
Right.
I think you're doing that for dramatic effect,
No,
to make a point, right?
Well,
Which is,
the point is
the point that you've said, and I'm going to remind you so that we can reword it, right? Because we need to be careful about organizations and groups coming before us, people, etc. We might not resonate with them, but everybody has the right to come before the board. So in the past, what you talked about was you were not afraid to say no for any reason about an event, right? That there was no quid pro quo,
absolutely
right?
Yeah.
So I think you're saying that in jest, and it's it's a dramatic point, but you were more concise in the prior meeting when you said, I'm not afraid to say no, and if citizens are afraid that we're not going to be able to say no, you were like, I'm happy saying no if that's what's best for Northfield,
Yeah,
right? Is
yeah.
that a fair restatement?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've covered all of our bases at this point. We've done what we're supposed to do as a board. We really have taken this issue more serious than anything we have in the past year. We've spent so much time on it. So much time on it.
Not over yet.
And it's not over yet.
Hasn't even started. Really.
And I just don't know what else we can do at this point. We've done it so well. We've written the book on how to deal with entities that come into town thinking that they can do whatever they want. And we've done it. We've worked as a team, as a select board, which is something I didn't think I'd ever say 4 years ago, that you can actually work as a team when you have 5 different viewpoints over an issue. But this time we have, and that's important to know. And I think when we send this letter to them with a nice big fat stamp on it.
On letterhead.
That's right.
With signatures.
With signatures. I think we're going to make our point very clear on how we stand. And besides my dramatic comments and sharp, brisk attitude towards these types of people, there's really nothing else I can add to this.
Okay. So action-wise, what is the preference of the board? Would you like to send suggestions to Andrea for edits? Do you want to think about this? Think about the document, and particular edits that you would like to put in here? Or Heath?
So I think just this one particular paragraph starting here,
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of taking some of the
Wordiness?
commas. Yeah, I think
You want
You're
me
saying-
to make it more concise?
You're saying the right thing there. It just needs to be reworked a little bit.
Tightened up?
Yeah, I think that's probably the only part that I would say.
I
That's
mean, yeah.
the second to last
Right
paragraph
there.
of the page there that we had a discussion about. Otherwise, I think most of it is.
My preference is to be doing creative writing, and here I sit on the weekends doing this.
You know,
But I will definitely, now that I've got it on paper.
and I feel very
I can-
sorry for Mr. Spencer, who was thrown into the lion's den, because this organization did not show up. That's cowardice. It's very cowardice that they wouldn't show. So.
Okay, so that's all you want me to do, Heath? That's your suggestion, is tighten that up?
Yeah. Otherwise, everything else is
I
fine.
have a couple of notes I can go over with you from what I've taken from everybody. if you
Okay,
want.
great.
Just what everybody's saying. I was making
So,
notes.
I know we can't discuss this outside of a meeting, so if you and I edit it, do you want to send it out to the rest of the board and take in their feedback?
Yeah, and then if they're good with it, we bring it to the next meeting. If they aren't, they can comment at the next meeting.
As long
But
as we're following the law. Yep.
Yeah, you can send me direct comments back if we feel we missed anything, but I've been taking comments on what everybody has said as well.
Okay,
Do not reply all.
correct. Do not reply all. Will that work for everyone?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure thing.
I know we just jam-packed this agenda because we have a lot of end-of-year stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm with Alex. If I don't spend another several hours on this topic, like,
Be on the behalf of your 4 colleagues on this board, thank you for taking the time to put this letter together. There's a lot of work.
That's
It
a lot.
summarized a lot of information, and I think it was very well written. So thank you.
and honestly, even though where I started with this, don't be afraid to, I don't feel like I own words. I need to watch my own style sometimes because it can get wordy. So if there's anything else that you guys see and want, let Andrea know. And then Andrea and I are like editing buddies over the phone, so we can we can arrive
Hour and a
at
I
half.
think it was good. The
Yeah.
fact that you got it down to less than 2 pages and
Oh,
it
I
summarizes
could
every
tell
section.
that you
Yeah.
guys spent a lot of
Oh,
time
yeah.
No,
on that.
she wrote this. I didn't have anything.
I sent it to her this morning. She's like, I just made a couple of minor things. I'm like, are you sure?
Well, I think the board needed to review it.
Yes, I do too. And I
More than
really,
me.
you guys, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it makes this job a lot easier coming in and knowing that we're going to discuss hard topics and we get to a point that works for us and works for the town. So I just want to say thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to get emotional. No, just kidding. But I do feel strongly about how this board works, and I appreciate it every meeting. Okay. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We have none. Citizens' concerns. Sarah?
I had trouble, when I sent the letter, I sent some topographical maps that were hard to understand, and so I brought 3-dimensional ones for the meeting.
Okay, we're not,
What?
but we're not doing, as we discussed by
You
email.
said that I could bring them.
You can bring them, but we're not able to discuss them because the board can't engage with you on them. But if you want to drop them,
Citizens' concern?
no.
I can drop them. I'll bring
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Could you explain to us what's happening?
She has some topographical
She
3D rendition
did
of the
3D
campus
renditions.
where they went.
We
On
just-
5 locations, because I felt that one of my concerns that I mentioned in my letter was that the 2 sites, Gunstock and Northfield, were misrepresented as being equal or similar, and they aren't. So this is Northfield.
Laser printer?
Very cool.
Yeah, we can look
Prop
at it, we
'em
just
up.
can't discuss it.
Correct.
Right.
Prop them up for
Want to
the.
move that microphone, Bernie?
Over you guys, Bernie, sorry.
Move that mic right there,
We
Bernie, on the
need this.
table.
Get it out of there.
I made an error on this side, so I had to take that part out, but this is just the draft. So this is Gunstock, and this is Northfield. The yellow lines are 1 kilometer. And we'll notice that this is the site. This is Highland Avenue. This right here is the site that was proposed. There are 350 or so houses right here. This is, and it's in an open area, so sound just travel.
So, Sarah.
And this is, I'm just explaining the location.
I know,
So this
Sarah.
is, yeah.
We'll put you on a future meeting. Can you leave those here so the select
Yeah,
board
I'm
members
sorry, I
can look?
misunderstood. I thought you said to, okay.
I said bring them because I thought they were printouts. I didn't realize you were doing like full scale.
3-dimensional.
Yeah, 3-dimensional. Wow.
So,
Okay. So thank you for that.
yeah, I'm really interested. Can't say anything. I don't want to break the law.
This
But
is
yeah,
is
thank you
what
very
I
much for
mentioned.
those. That's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah. So we appreciate the time and effort, and we want to make sure that it's part of the agenda topic and that there's enough time to present it and for the board to actually engage and ask questions, right? So I thought they were going to be printouts, and that's why I was saying bring them. I didn't realize that they were full.
Is the citizen presenting these out of concern of Soulfest?
As part of the comments that were already included in our packet.
Right,
Correct.
thank you.
But an actual description of beyond what we're discussing tonight, what I thought I made clear was that it needs to occur at a different meeting
Right.
because of the way the agenda topics are structured. Yep. And open meeting law. But, okay, thank you. Any other citizen concerns? Okay. Now we need to run through, that's that time of year for committee and board appointments. So we have an appointment for Martha Morse returning to the three.
Can I stand here to look at this or not?
Yeah.
I don't have to.
We're going to finish our discussion. We can leave them. Can we put them somewhere where
Here.
folks can?
Them on the microwave.
No,
I'm sorry
Mary.
to disrupt, but
Mary.
I'm sorry. I'll just,
We're going
you
to.
want to take this one and I'll take it. We'll move them out here. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Martha?
Okay, I need a motion to appoint Martha Morse to the 350th Anniversary Committee, term expiring December 31st, 2023.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
And I'd like to add some discussion. Martha lives two down from me on Loretta Lane.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I've seen her recovery firsthand from her terrible fall that she had at Chris Harris's front steps. And she's had a very long road to recovery. And I'm glad to see her at the point now where she's gained her mobility back. And
She wants to re-engage.
she wants to re-engage, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that she's
I'm
getting right back on the horse here.
So happy about this. And I know the committee is too.
Yeah.
So,
It just kind of means a lot to me in a way because I was there for her, by her side when she had fallen. I happened to be right there.
oh,
So my first responder side kicked in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just glad to see her coming back at it. So this is nice.
That's
We
great.
need her help. She's very valuable in the committee.
and she's very interested. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Okay.
Martha.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Martha.
Martha.
We're glad you're back.
Yeah.
Okay, reappointments. So we are,
We can slam through these.
yes.
I'll make a motion to.
Yep. Ooh, we want to go round robin? Okay, you go first and then Bernie.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Margaret Livingston to the Council on Aging, term expiring 12/31/2025.
Motion and a,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You want me to read each individual name, or are we doing them as a group?
We have to do them. We have to do each one at a time.
And on
So
time?
you're
Okay.
doing the historical
Okay,
commission.
I make a motion to appointment to the Historical Commission for the term expiring 12/31/2025. 2025 of Barbara Jack.
Joe Gravelin, and you can do the three
do
as
it,
long
yeah.
as it's to the same commission.
Okay, Joe Graveline and Lisa McLaughlin.
Motion and a,
Second.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we reappoint to the Shell Bridge Advisory Susan Ross, Judy Wagner, and John McGowan. Term expires 12/31/25.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, police part-time and.
That's a big one. We have a
You
list
don't-
on
yeah,
our.
You don't have to read them. You can refer to the list.
I will make a motion to reappoint the police part-time and mutual aid list as listed by Chief Hall. Terms will expire 12/31/23.
Motion and a.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And I make a motion that we reappoint EMS people as listed by Chief Fortier, terms expiring December 31st, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We can do that. We don't have to
Oh.
name each one.
Oh, no, you can incorporate a list into your minutes.
Okay.
Into the minutes. Oh, yeah. Great. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to do a thank you for service to, is Alex Drisky rolling off the Energy Committee because of the why?
Womp womp.
Mr. Water District Commissioner. Okay. Well, many thanks to Alex Drisky from the Energy Committee and the beloved Jerry Wagner from the Shell Bridge Advisory Committee.
Oh.
Jerry,
Yeah.
he's been so.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Alex.
Yes. Okay. Proposed, is that it for appointments?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Proposed agenda items.
I would love to get at the beginning of our meeting if possible because he's volunteer and they put in a lot of work. But if we get Steve Roberto and some of his food bank crew in here to talk about some of the amazing work they've been doing.
Ooh.
I talked to him
Yeah,
at the
I
Shell
talked to-
Bridge
Yeah.
meeting, and I don't have any accurate numbers, but the amount of people who are coming there in much
It's
larger
eye-opening.
quantities
Yeah.
are. I want to give him a recognition for service for him and his crew, what they're doing, but I would love to have them come in here and just give us some details of what they're up to and what the community can do if they want to donate. And also, as a part of this right now, just encourage people. I know times are tough for a lot of people. Holidays are always tougher than normal, but if you have anything to give to the food bank, they could really use it because there's a lot of people in need and they're hitting a lot of stuff right now. So a big shout out to Steve Roberto and his crew for what they do.
I think he
Thanks,
told me
Steve.
their number of cars tripled.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, the line gets really long.
Yeah. Okay.
They're always looking for volunteers to help on Saturday mornings, I think at 10 a.m.
2 Saturdays a month?
Yep.
Okay.
He'll come in and tell us that.
Okay, good.
Good.
Any other proposed agenda items? I actually,
Have the list.
Yeah, I have one that just.
yeah, go ahead.
We were gonna, I mentioned we were gonna add water and sewer onto the special events. We, add on to one of the agendas to add it to the permit.
That's if you
So-
bring the permit to the discussion. You can discuss it, I think, at any of that
If we
time.
bring the permit to discussion then, because remember I sent an email to add that, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget it, because, it could have, with certain special events, not just talking Soul Fest,
Yeah,
we want to cover as many bases as we can.
correct.
Yeah.
And I separated policy from the preliminary review,
Okay,
right? From
Yeah.
a time and also clarity standpoint, so that we don't continue to pollute,
Mhm.
if you will,
Okay.
pollute the policy discussion based on one specific example.
okay.
I think I also asked you to work with Andrea on how that would work in the application, so then you're bringing it forth
Mhm.
via Andrea to the board,
Okay.
right? So I'm
Yeah,
kind of,
because I had the original thing we had, it has the little sections like Board of Health.
yes,
I just wanted something for the sewer commission
Right, and
similar
I-
to that.
what I would like is for
But
you to
I'll-
have a
I'll-
discussion with Andrea about
Okay.
how that should work in there, because we're putting in other boards into the process, so
Okay.
we need to be careful about, we don't manage
Mhm.
other elected boards, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm pointing you
Okay.
over there. And then I'll come full circle back onto the agenda. Okay. Okay, so did we print out, Sandra, did you print, we printed?
Which one? I have 3.
Um,
We did
I
print
did
it, I
too.
thought. We printed a bunch of those January 10th ones.
Yeah. That one.
Look in your pile. Is there something that says, yeah, Bernie's got one right in front of him.
One right in front of me. It was right under the Northfield EMS thing.
It says January 10th?
Yeah.
It's probably in there too.
yeah, I said, please print January 10th. It's 2 emails from me
Mm-hmm.
in response to prior requests regarding
Agenda
SRO.
items.
Right.
So this outlines what I asked Chief Hall to bring to the January 10th meeting, and also it outlines what I sent to the school committee chair. And that will all,
Thanks for those.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
that's
wanted
good
to let you know
information.
what the thinking was on that proposed agenda topic, and wanted to make sure that I responded
Are
to
we
the
looking to do
board.
the food bank one on the 10th, or is that just a future?
A future one, but
Okay.
it would be.
Well, I have it. I just wanted to try and make sure
The
we
sooner
can.
the better. Seems
Yeah,
like
let's do it
Yeah.
on the 10th,
Yep.
because that's quite a ways away.
Well, we're having Chief Hall come in, and I'm assuming that's going to be a fairly lengthy
Wow.
discussion, so I just want to be sensitive to people. Okay,
I'm going to ask you to also consider appointing the sewer commissioners, and water commissioners. Water commissioners.
oh, because they're expiring again?
They're not appointed yet.
the new granted.
Right.
You've never appointed them.
We
They're
haven't
just-
officially appointed them. Oh, because they're now official. Oh, that's right. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And it's time.
Yes, okay.
So I'm going to put
Oh,
that
that's
on the
wonderful.
agenda for the 10th.
Excellent. Okay, good. Yeah, we will enjoy that. Okay. Anything else? Nope.
No,
Okay.
that's fine.
And then,
Possibly do discussion with police and highway over road closure.
yep. Maybe more first light.
I'm not bringing up I'm not gonna put the cap thing on the agenda, because I understand what,
Okay.
But we may still be putting the permit on. I'll talk to Bernie about what's going on.
Yeah.
We probably will.
If we put it on the agenda, it will be put as policy with bullets underneath it, so we have the topics, rather than having it be like wide open.
And probably
Right.
you'll have the response letter to be signed, hopefully.
Yes, thank you. Okay. We already did recognition for service. Do you have any other shout outs? This is all about Oleg tonight, so.
right. I can think of
Okay.
I can-
Announcements?
I guess just for a quick announcement, if we could all just keep the Raymonds and Bernardston in our
Oh,
in our
right.
thoughts right now.
Oh, good point. Their daughter set up a
They lost their
GoFundMe.
house last night to a fire. Or was it the night before? I forget. Either way, it's gone. It's
I didn't
probably
know
going to be a
that,
total
actually.
loss. So if anybody would like to donate to them, there's a GoFundMe page set up for them. Bob served on Bernardston for 15 years as a select
He's a
board
select
member.
Yeah.
So very sad. So
Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
they were not home when the fire had happened.
Thank
Nobody
goodness.
was hurt.
The whole house gone?
Yep. It was a total loss.
So
Thank you for bringing that up, Alex. Okay, I need a motion to move
I got
into
it.
executive session, not to return.
I'll make a motion to enter an executive session for the First Light contract negotiation, MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining in the matter of the renewal of First Light's license to operate a hydroelectric power facility if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining of the public body and the chair so declares, not to return to open session.
Second.
Alex says yes.
B says yes.
He says yes.
Mary says yes?
Bernie says yes.
Okay,
right.
thank you, everyone. Okay.